Production by Liang Gu, The Last Smile, author, Jiang Guangci. Chapter 1. The little ant was bullied by his own kind, and he still tried his best to resist. It was one evening in June. The night shrouded the earth and made it unusual. Production by Liang Gu, The Last Smile, author, Jiang Guangci. Chapter 1. The little ant was bullied by his own kind, and he still tried his best to resist. It was one evening in June. The night shrouded the earth and made it unusually dark. At the northwest corner of the sky, Fei shot a golden flash, and heard the thunder from a distance. The weather was unusually dull and dry, with not even a breath of wind. People are waiting for the arrival of heavy rain, because the sky has given signs of heavy rain. At the end of Road C in the south of the city, near the wheat field, there are two dilapidated huts. Surrounding the hut, 100 steps in front is the cotton mill, behind is the wheat field, not far to the left are several tombs in the ruins. According to the residents near these tombs, ghost cries are often heard here and will-o-wisps are found. See, it was extremely desolate to look up. To the right is a group of bungalows, where almost all the workers who work in cotton factory live. The workers couldn't find any other way to keep cool. If it wasn't raining, they would always sleep in the open at night. Every night. Except for some workers who work at night, the rest always sit outside at home to enjoy the cool air. Their banana fans and the sound of talking and laughing distantly echo the sound of the machines in the cotton mill. The weather is even more unusually dry tonight. Therefore, the sound of them shaking the banana fans was louder than before. Damn it! It's so hot tonight. Oh! It's so hot. It's so hot, even if they work night jobs in factories, they don't know how they can stand it. You have to accept it even if you don't accept it. You are really saying weird things. Look. It's flashing in the northwest corner and it's going to rain. Well, all-rounder. Wang Ague was fired, and I don't know who did it. Is there anyone else? Who is it if it's not Jiang Guangci? Damn it. Well. It's so hot. At this time, when they were talking about the south and the north, everyone was talking and laughing. In the hut, Wang Ague was ill and lying on the bed. These two dilapidated thatched huts are extremely cold in winter because the wind blows from the four walls, and extremely hot in summer because of the fumigation of the sun. Wang Ague is sick in bed. Because the combination of the extremely high body temperature and the extremely hot air in the room made me dizzy and confused. This morning he was preparing for work as usual, not expecting any unfortunate change. But as soon as he entered the factory gate, the short and fat foreman Jiang Guangci stopped him and said to him, You have been fired from the factory. You know what you did yourself, and I don't need to tell you more. What kind of factory owner do you want to oppose? Please go to other factories to protest. In our factory, I'm sorry. Fortunately, I look at your father's face and don't want to make you suffer more. Otherwise, I will report it to the patrol room. Catch you and shoot you, just go ahead. You can't come in here anymore. After Wang Ague heard what Jiang Guangci said, he looked at Jiang Guangci stupidly, as if he didn't understand what he was talking about, then his face turned pale and he slowly lowered his head. Yes. At this time Ague understood. He understood the meaning of what Jiang Guangci said, and he understood that all his hopes were over. This was really like a thunderbolt on a sunny day, with a loud crack that shook Ague to the point of being at a loss. What should I do? What to do? It's over. It's over. At this time Ague understood. He understood the meaning of what Jiang Guangci said, and he understood that all his hopes were over. This was really like a thunderbolt on a sunny day, with a loud crack that shook Ague to the point of being at a loss. What should I do? What to do? It's over. It's over. All is lost. Ague seemed about to cry, but no tears came out. He didn't feel any excessive sadness, he was just confused. Where to go? There are no jobs, and therefore no wages. What to do? What to do? He was just at a loss, He should have said something pleading or resisting to Jiang Guangci, but after listening to Jiang Guangci's words, he didn't make a sound. Several workers came forward to plead for him, defend him, complain about him, and pity him. But he remained silent and said nothing. He was just confused. He walked out of the factory door obediently, without even turning his head. When he had walked dozens of steps away from the factory, he turned around and looked at the factory buildings. It seemed that he had forgotten to say goodbye to the factory, so he turned around and walked around the factory several times. He is 19 years old this year. He has been working in this factory for 8 or 9 years since he was 11 years old. Although his childhood was the so-called golden age, they were all swallowed up by the machines in this factory. Although this factory was like a prison, he was imprisoned there for 8 or 9 years. Although this factory did not give him the slightest happiness except pain and oppression, in the end I have had a relationship with this factory for 89 years. I suddenly left it today, which makes me feel a bit reluctant to leave it. He stood outside the factory, watching the smoke coming from the chimneys and listening to the sound of the machines. He couldn't help but feel infinitely sad. Farewell, factory. Farewell, prison. Farewell, my colleagues and fellow workers. He finally had to say goodbye to the factory. But where to go after parting? Go home? What kind of appearance do you have to go home? No, you can't go back home. He thought, my father is over 50 years old and suffers from tuberculosis. Although he can sometimes make some money by pushing a small cart. But there are not many people who can make a living. As for my mother, she can only make a few bucks by washing and mending clothes for others. There is also a useless little sister who is 5 or 6 years old. Most of the family is counting on me, but now that I have been fired from the factory, what should I do? If these 2 old people knew that I was fired from the factory, wouldn't they be very angry? Well, never mind. Never mind. Although I am only 19 years old this year, I have lived enough life, so I might as well go on a short-term trip. Yes, I might as well go jump in the Huangpu River. Life is only one death, and I can't ask so many questions. Although Ague had the idea of suicide, he was not determined to commit suicide immediately. He left the factory, walked forward blankly, and without a certain direction. He is like a person who has lost his soul. He has forgotten what he should do, and he does not know where he should go. He only knew one thing. He couldn't let his parents know about being fired from the factory. But why was he fired? What was his crime for being expelled? Who caused him to be fired from the factory? What should he do after being fired? He seemed to have forgotten it at this time. He just walked around blankly, but he didn't think anything deeply. What path was he walking on, and what was on both sides? What kind of people he met on the road? He didn't even notice them. He walked along a road, walked back, then turned back again, and in this way he spent a whole morning. The hot sun was burning like fire, but he was bareheaded. Although the white cloth gown and pants were almost soaked with sweat, he didn't seem to feel this layer. Finally, when he was tired from walking, he saw a stone on the side of the road. He walked up to it and sat down without asking whether it was hot or not. He lowered his head and seemed to be thinking about something. But he didn't think clearly about anything at this time. He saw a few ants walking around on the ground. A small yellow ant also found a piece of white food from somewhere, and was holding it hard while walking forward. Suddenly I met a black ant. When the black ant saw the little ant holding a piece of food, he stepped forward and snatched it away. The little ant was so angry that he refused to give in and started fighting with the black ant. Although the little ants are smaller, they are extremely brave. He has no fear, but he is no match for his enemies. The two of them fought more and more vigorously, and Ogué couldn't help but be fascinated at this moment, and he expressed full sympathy to the little ant. Seeing the heroic spirit of the little ant, he couldn't help but secretly praise him. He looked at it. Suddenly there was a wave in his mind, and he immediately stood up and asked himself in surprise, Aha! Am I not as good as this little ant? Hey! Am I still worthy of being a human? The little ant was bullied by its own kind. I still have to resist desperately. I am a human being. Am I being bullied? Should I just let it go? Revenge. Revenge. Then he felt infinitely humiliated. His face became a little feverish, and his heart began to beat fast. He couldn't help but regret. When Jiang Guangci made a declaration to me, why didn't I show any resistance? Why did I obey Jiang Guangci's bullying? Why didn't I pull Jiang Guangci and beat him up? Why not pick up a stone and throw it at Jiang Guangci's head? Why? Well, I'm not even as good as this little ant. Am I still worthy of being a human being? Jiang Guangci must have done so many evil things. Why didn't I beat him to death? He killed Li Chuanfa. He killed Mr. Shen Yufang and Mr. Shen, and now he is here to harm me again. He has destroyed my job again. According to his tone, he may want to kill me again. Alas! Why didn't I beat him to death? Why don't I resist at all? Well, I'm not even as good as this little ant. The more Ogué thought about it, the more he sweated with shame, and was almost embarrassed. He sat down again. He looked at the two fighting ants on the ground, and they were still in a stalemate. He then picked up I'm not even as good as this little ant. The more Ogué thought about it, the more he sweated with shame, and was almost embarrassed. He sat down again. He looked at the two fighting ants on the ground, and they were still in a stalemate. He then picked up a small straw stalk. Isolating the black ant, he he slowly but angrily smashed it to death. At this time he felt that he had done a great deed, so he felt very happy. Seeing that its enemy was dead, the little ant left with the white food in its mouth. Ague watched it go away and couldn't help but smile secretly. Little ant, you are such a hero. I should worship you as my teacher. You and I are both being bullied. Let's unite. Okay. The whole world is being bullied. Those who unite. Ha, ha, ha. Ague felt that he was the winner for a moment. He seemed to feel that Jiang Guangci had been beaten to death by him with a straw pole. After a minute or two of happiness, he felt a little disappointed again. What he had killed was a tiny ant, not the evil Jiang Guangci. Jiang Guangci is still alive in the world. Yes, Ague's responsibility is not to kill a tiny ant, but to kill his enemy Jiang Guangci. Ague realized this level, then he began to think of ways to take revenge. Haha, that's great. It would be better to catch him or crush him to death like an ant. Well, how hateful he must be. He tried his best to be kind to the factory owner, but he also killed many workers. He killed Li Chuanfa, he killed Mr. Shen, and now he is here to harm me. Harm me? Good. I want his puppy life. I should avenge Li Chuanfa and Mr. Shen. If I don't take revenge, I won't be considered a human being. I'm really not as good as an ant. If a person is not as good as an ant, is he still a person? Hee hee. Revenge. Revenge. But how to catch him? Ague suddenly felt a headache when he thought of this. The sun's light is so hot. Ague spent a long time in the sun without a hat, and of course his head hurt from the sun. Maybe his head had already been sunburned, but he didn't feel it until now. Strangely, Ague now has a headache. It hurt like hell, and it seemed like I couldn't support it anymore. Not only did he have a headache, but his whole body seemed to be on fire, and his face was so hot that he could touch his hands. Then he suddenly thought of home. He forgot about being fired from the factory. He also forgot how angry and upset his parents would be if they found out that he had been fired from the factory. He felt that he was sick, and sick people must go home. He also forgot how angry and upset his parents would be if they found out that he had been fired from the factory. He felt that he was sick, and sick people must go home. When Ague staggered home, it was already past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At this time, Ague's father Wang Xingxing had eaten lunch and had already gone out to push the cart. Those left at home were Ague's mother and his little sister. My mother is 50 years old this year and is a very frail woman. Her eye sockets were as rotten as red date flesh, and her eyes were constantly watering. It was very difficult for her to see, but she had to do some sewing. On her withered, wrinkled face, you can see the traces of the pain she suffered in her life. This poor old woman probably didn't know anything about happiness in her life, because she had never seen what a happy face looked like. Sometimes she imagined that Ague would have good luck as an adult in the future. If you can earn a few dollars a day, you can buy her a piece of good clothes and a few kilograms of meat to eat. Or her daughter Arong can find a rich husband's family in the future, so she can rely on her son-in-law to support her. At this time she felt very happy and happy. But this is just a very vague happiness and joy, because it is just an imagination for the future, it is just a hope. When will Ague get good luck? Will our Rong find a rich husband in the future? I'm afraid only God knows this. No one knows. Even though she said this old woman had to have such hope. The reason why she is still alive and still feels the need to work is entirely because she still has this unfounded hope, otherwise. She is afraid that she has been buried in the lust due to hard work for a long time. She believed in Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, so she worshipped the image of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva devoutly. She thought that Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva was a rescuer of suffering and a kind of universal salvation, and she would definitely bless people with kind hearts. As long as people can keep their consciences upright, even if Guanxian Bodhisattva doesn't know. Oh! Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva who saves the suffering. Oh! Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, the compassionate and universal being. In this way, she is truly a true believer of Guanyin Bodhisattva. She didn't believe that she would be poor all her life. Because she has a good conscience and has never done anything bad, and people with a good conscience can definitely be blessed by Guanyin Bodhisattva. What kind of suffering am I going to suffer now? Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva certainly has eyes. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva will certainly benefit me. Maybe the reason I'm suffering now is because I committed sins in my previous life? Oh! It doesn't matter. As long as I can do good deeds in this life, even if I don't get any benefits in this life, I will definitely get benefits in the next life. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva naturally has eyes, so what am I afraid of? Oh, maybe the reason I'm suffering now is because I committed sins in my previous life? Oh! It doesn't matter. As long as I can do good deeds in this life, even if I don't get any benefits in this life, I will definitely get benefits in the next life. Please bless my Rong. Please bless my Ague. He is such a good boy, how filial he must be to me. Yes, he should be blessed by the. Please bless my Rong. Please bless my Ague. He is such a good boy, how filial he must be to me. I always go to Guanxian Bodhisattva, kowtow a few times, and pray secretly for Ague. Ague is her only hope. If she doesn't pray for him, who else will she pray for? As for Rong, she thought, Rong is just a woman, she is always a member of other people's family. Comparison is secondary. Maybe you can get a good son-in-law in the future, but a good son is better than a good son-in-law. Comparison is secondary. Maybe you can get a good son-in-law in the future, but a good son is better than a good son-in-law. A good son-in-law is always born from the flesh and blood of another family. Of course she also prayed for Rong. But the number of times I prayed was less than the number of times I prayed for Ague. In order to pray and show her sincerity, she did not know how much incense she burned in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva. The money she spent to buy incense was earned by washing and tonicking for others. She couldn't bear to, but the number of times I prayed was less than the number of times I prayed for Ague. In order to pray and show her sincerity, she did not know how much incense she burned in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva. The money she spent to buy incense was earned by washing and tonicking for others. She couldn't bear to eat or wear anything. But he was willing to buy incense. She was sitting at the door today, mending her clothes, and thinking about Ague again. I wonder if Ague is in the factory today, okay? The weather is so hot. She suddenly heard footsteps coming towards her and raised her head to take a look. But he didn't know who he was. Judging from the visitor's clothes, it was Ague who had returned, but judging from the person's face, it was no longer Ague. This was almost Jiang Guangci and Guan Fuzi on the stage. For a moment she was very surprised. What? Could it be said that Master Guan came to show his sage? If he is really a saint, then I should kneel down and receive him properly. She looked attentively with her red eyes. At this time, the person who came was already in front of her, and then she saw clearly that the person who came was not Guan Fuzi. It was Ague whom she had just thought of. Ague's face was as red as Guan Fuzi's, which made his mother cry out in horror. My God! What's wrong with you, you? Are you sick, are you sick? But Ague didn't answer her. After Ague entered the house, he lay down on a bamboo bed against the wall, as straight as a dead person. Seeing him like this, his mother was so frightened that she was at a loss what to do. She walked in and stood beside him. Looking at his terrifying face in a daze, he said to himself, What should I do now? Are you possessed by a demon? What should I do? Xing Sheng is not at home. Ague. My son. She paused and cried again. How did you get like this? You. How did you do it, my God? Water, water. Ague opened his eyes and said these two words to his mother. At this moment, she suddenly felt a little hope in her heart. She thought, it's okay. He can still talk and knows how to ask for water. I know I need water. Doesn't this mean that he still understands in his heart? Fortunately, he doesn't have anything. Haha. My God. Bodhisattva bless you. Then she felt a little relieved. She didn't dare to neglect, so she quickly filled a bowl of cold water from the water tank for him to drink, but he didn't have the strength to take the bowl. So she brought it to his mouth, and he drank up the bowl of cold water in one breath, just like receiving manna. Yes, he was really thirsty. He had been in the sun for a long time, and all the moisture on his body had turned into sweat and dissipated. At this time, it could be said that he didn't have much moisture on his body. His throat was so dry that after he drank the bowl of cold water, he felt as if more than half of the fire in his body had been extinguished. I still want to drink. After Ague drank the second bowl of cold water, he felt much clearer. His complexion was no longer as terrifying as before, and the light radiating from his eyes was no longer as demonic as before. She felt even more relieved at this time. Ague is ready. Ague will definitely not be in any danger. Ague will definitely be fine. Then she thought of Guanyin Bodhisattva again. She thought, this must be protected by Guanyin Bodhisattva secretly, otherwise, I don't know what it would be like. This was the time when she should burn incense and kowtow in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva, so she washed her hands. She burned incense with great devotion to express her gratitude to Guanyin Bodhisattva. Ague was really tired. She burned incense with great devotion to express her gratitude to Guanyin Bodhisattva. Ague was really tired. Seeing his mother's look, he wanted to say something to her, but he didn't have the strength to speak. He should take a good rest. So he fell into a deep sleep. The mother sitting next to him saw Ogue's expression and knew that he was asleep and not something else. She didn't want him to take any more trouble, so she didn't talk to him much. She continued to pick up her work. Sitting next to him, she gave him a few injections and looked at him a few times. After looking at him a few times, she added a few more injections. She felt relieved at this time because she believed that Guanyin Bodhisattva was secretly blessing her. It's evening. Ogue's father, Wang Xingsheng, pushed the car for a long time today. He only got the price of 4 corners of the ocean. If the price of the 4 corners of the ocean was obtained peacefully, then Wang Xingsheng would be happy enough today, because the 4 corners of the ocean are not that small. Sometimes the market is closed for a day, and not even 1 copper dollar can be sold. Today, I actually pushed it to the 4 corners of the ocean in half a day. This may be because Guanyin Bodhisattva is secretly blessing me. But Wang Xingsheng received 7 or 8 wooden sticks on his shoulders and back because of the 4-corner Xiaoyang, and received a severe beating from the red-headed Asen. Wang Xingsheng is already over 50 years old. Although he can still push a small car, his bones are indeed very old. He is also a tuberculosis person. How can he eat more and ignore the red-headed Asen who beats people in his hands? Where's the damn morning stick? Therefore, although the 4 corners of Xiaoyang were a large amount to Wang Xingsheng, eating 7 or 8 sticks was a great disaster for Wang Xingsheng. What happened was this: he pushed a small cart of wooden objects, and when he reached the middle of the 4-way street, he pushed a small cart of wooden objects. Suddenly, a car flew over with a roar, almost knocking down his car and the people. Perhaps because of the blessing of Bodhisattva, he was not crushed to death by the car. The red-headed Asen, an Indian patrolman, saw this scene and ran up angrily. I gave him a few whale sticks first, and then I scolded him for why he didn't know how to give way and why he was so stupid. Poor Wang Xingsheng had been frightened out of his soul by the car, so how could he still have the courage to reason with the policeman? He just got a beating in vain. If Wang Xingsheng is willing to ask a doctor to look at his scars, buy some medicine or 2, and nurse him back to health, can he distribute the 4-cornered ocean he received today? Although he had often received the morning stick from the hands of red-headed Asen in the past. But today he felt that he had never been in such pain before. Well, he had no strength to resist, he could only cry pitifully. It was getting dark, and Wang Xingsheng couldn't find any business anymore, so he decided to push the car home. On the way, he remembered the insult the red-headed Asen had just given him, and he couldn't help but cry secretly. Although the scar on the shoulder and back has not yet reached the point of bleeding, it is still very serious. On the way, he remembered the insult the red-headed Asen had just given him, and he couldn't help but cry secretly. Although the scar on the shoulder and back has not yet reached the point of bleeding, it is still very serious. After being washed away by sweat, the pain becomes more and more severe. He felt that he should not be subjected to such unreasonable bullying, but he had no thoughts of resistance or revenge. He only lamented that his own fate should be like this. What can be done? He felt that he should not be subjected to such unreasonable bullying, but he had no thoughts of resistance or revenge. He only lamented that his own fate should be like this. What can be done? There is no way. After all, poor people are born to endure hardship. Just bear with it. Well, there is no other way but to endure it. He just thought like this, and his mind would only think like this. He never had any other restless thoughts. Old Wang. Are you back? When he pushed the car not far from home, he met a worker he knew, who greeted him first. Lao Wang is a very kind person. Whenever he talks to others, he always has a smile on his face. Although I have severe pain on my shoulder and back today, even though my stomach is full of unhappiness. But as soon as he saw the worker greeting him, he immediately smiled and replied, Ha! I'm back, see. Have you finished work yet? No, I didn't go to work today. Did you know? Your son has been fired from the factory. What? Lao Wang asked in surprise. The color on his face has changed. Your son was fired from the factory. Good news. Good news. The color on his face has changed. Your son was fired from the factory. Good news. Good news. After hearing Ah Si's words, Lao Wang's body almost became cold. He felt that a great disaster had befallen him. He seemed to be possessed by a demon. He couldn't say a word, he just stood upright like a wooden chicken, looking at Ah Si. Seeing his expression, Ah Si didn't understand how huge the mental blow he had suffered at this moment, so he left him without paying much attention. He went his own way again. After Lao Wang stood there for a few minutes, he pushed the car back up and walked home. When he walked to the door, his car stood up next to the door, walked into the house silently, and sat down on a small wooden stool behind the door. It was as if he had not seen the people in the house. Ague, who was lying on the bamboo bed, hadn't woken up yet. Seeing her father coming back today, Ah Rong didn't dare to get close to him, so she just looked at him from afar. At this time, his wife was cooking dinner. When she saw Lao Wang coming back, she left the stove and walked to Lao Wang to greet him. Are you back? How much money did you push today? Lao Wang held his head with both hands and looked at the ground. At this time, his wife was cooking dinner. When she saw Lao Wang coming back, she left the stove and walked to Lao Wang to greet him. Are you back? How much money did you push today? Lao Wang held his head with both hands and looked at the ground, sitting motionless like a log. When she saw that he didn't answer her and was confused, she asked him again loudly, You, what's wrong with you today? Why don't you even answer when people ask you? Lao Wang still didn't answer. Seeing this look, she knew something bad had happened, so she didn't dare to ask him again. She repeatedly returned to the stove and sat down, almost demented. She didn't know what to do at this time. Secretly, I feel that some terrible disaster is about to come, or has already come. She really didn't know what she was going to do. Look, one is gone, and another. Ague was almost frightened to death when he came back, with red head and red face, and he came back like this. It makes people have no clue at all. What should I do about this? Could it be that today is really a day for the underworld? And what kind of ghost did you encounter? Otherwise, Why would everyone be like this? Well, you can't live peacefully in poverty, but you end up with a lot of flowers. Well, this is really life-threatening, life-threatening. She couldn't help crying sadly. Don't you know yet? Lao Wang raised his head and suddenly asked this sentence very sadly. This shocked his wife. She stopped crying, looked at her husband, and asked after a while. What don't I know yet? Lao Wang lowered his head again. By this time, the room was already dark, deep in the still air. In the silence, only the sound of Ague turning over on the bamboo bed could be heard. Rong's heart skipped a beat when she saw her father and mother looking like this. She vaguely guessed that something bad had happened, so she stood quietly next to the door. Don't dare to say another word. But Rong is still a child after all. She is hungry and wants to eat. Don't dare to say another word. But Rong is still a child after all. She is hungry and wants to eat. She can no longer follow her father and mother in silence. Mom. I'm hungry, I want to eat. Rong's words moved the silent air. Lao Wang followed Rong's words and said, Don't you know yet? Ague was fired from the factory. After listening to his words, his wife pondered for a long time and mumbled something like a non-answer. Ha! Lao Wang followed Rong's words and said, Don't you know yet? Ague was fired from the factory. After listening to his words, his wife pondered for a long time and mumbled something like a non-answer. Ha! Ague was fired from the factory. At this moment, her heart seemed to be confused, and she couldn't think of anything to say. So, on the surface, she didn't seem to be shocked by the news, but in her heart, alas, she could hardly express her grief. She was really speechless at this time. What did she have to say? Oh, it's all over, there's no hope. Mom. I'm hungry, I want to eat. She was really speechless at this time. What did she have to say? Oh, it's all over, there's no hope. Mom. I'm hungry, I want to eat. Rong's mother still ignored her, and finally she walked up to her mother. She asked her mother to give her food. At this time, Lao Wang probably felt a little hungry, so he said, Let's eat. After hearing what he said, the old woman got up, lit the kerosene lamp, and quietly placed the food on a low wooden table in the middle of the room. Rong picked up the rice bowl and ate, looking into the vegetable bowl with her two little eyes. It was like the vegetable bowl was full of delicious meat. She wanted to swallow it all at once. In fact, there was nothing there. Meat is not chicken, fish, or duck, but some cabbage with insufficient oil and salt. Why don't you get up and eat? Lao Wang asked. No, he has eaten something recently. But some cabbage with insufficient oil and salt. Why don't you get up and eat? Lao Wang asked. No, he has eaten something recently. Let him sleep now. He is sick. Is he really sick? Lao Wang asked his wife uneasily, but she looked like she was about to cry. He seemed to be thinking sadly and didn't answer him. Seeing her pitiful appearance, he stopped asking any more questions. He couldn't help but feel pity for her secretly. Poor old woman, she really suffered a fate. They ate their supper in silence. Just sit outside the door and enjoy the cool air. At this time, the earth was terribly dark, there was no wind at all, and it was unbearably boring. Both husband and wife lowered their heads and thought about their own things. Only Ah Rong was sitting next to her mother, not thinking at all. The two eyes only looked at the distant golden flash in the northwest corner with interest. At this time, Ah Gui, who was sitting on the bamboo bed in the house, seemed to have woken up, but his whole body was burning like a furnace, making his mind dizzy and unclear. He seemed to be getting up. However, he didn't have the strength to get up. He seemed to want to call someone, but he could only open his mouth and no sound came out. He was in a hazy and chaotic state, with no clear ripples in his mind. Or it could be said that he was in a half-dead state. At this time, Lao Wang was thinking deeply about his sad fate. He had never had a good day since he was born. After pushing a small car for 10 or 20 years, he worked hard all his life. Now Ah Gui is able to earn a little money to support his family, and his poor life is a little more comfortable. Unfortunately, it happened again. I was fired. Well, what a ending. It's all Ah Gui's fault. If the factory doesn't fire others, why should they fire him alone? This is clearly Ah Gui's fault. I've heard some rumors a long time ago. He said he was doing union work in the factory and opposing capitalists. Ha! It is good to oppose the capitalists in this way, and you will lose your own job by opposing it. Well, he said he was doing union work in the factory and opposing capitalists. Ha! It is good to oppose the capitalists in this way, and you will lose your own job by opposing it. Well, nonsense. We are born to be workers, and we are born to suffer. It's just a good job in the factory, but you have to do something irrelevant, such as a labor union, alas. Restless. What Lao Wang's wife thinks is more optimistic. At any rate, there will always be a bodhisattva to bless her, and there is nothing to be afraid of. Maybe I can go to the factory tomorrow and beg, so Ah Gui can still go back to work in the factory? Maybe this factory no longer wants him, and he can still work in another factory? When you really have no choice, you can also push the cart. Anyway, with the blessing of Bodhisattva, you will never starve to death. As long as your conscience is upright. Ah Gui, this little guy, must have such a good conscience. Could it be that he will starve to death? No. No. She also decided that before going to bed tonight, she should burn a few sticks of incense in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Kowtow a few times and ask for her blessing. She believed that Guanxian would definitely bless her, her husband, her Arong, and especially her dear son A Gui. She doesn't really trust other bodhisattvas. But her belief in Guanyin Bodhisattva can be said to be extreme. She always said to people, Guanxian Bodhisattva must not be disbelieved. She is so smart. I have dreamed of her several times. But her belief in Guanyin Bodhisattva can be said to be extreme. She always said to people, Guanxian Bodhisattva must not be disbelieved. She is so smart. I have dreamed of her several times. She is a gray-haired, amiable old woman. Sometimes I have seen her manifest herself during the day. When she said this, it was as if she had really seen Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. But whether she has really seen it, only God knows. Boom, 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 click, boom, boom, thunder is approaching. Musings on these two poor couples. It was shattered by loud thunder. At this time, the wind picked up again, very strong, and then sparse and heavy raindrops fell. It's raining heavily. Come in quickly. You can't sit outside. As soon as they walked in, the rain started pouring down. They closed the door. But the wind was so strong that the two panel doors were almost unable to withstand it. The two thatched huts seemed to be shaking wildly due to the wind and rain, as if they were about to collapse. The kerosene lamp on the wooden table was blown by the wind. At this time, the stuffy air in the room gradually dissipated, and it suddenly became cooler. Everyone felt extremely happy, but at the same time they were afraid that the two huts would be completely destroyed by such a strong wind and rain. That's when it really sucks. That's when the real disaster begins. Mom. Mom. That corner is leaking, it's leaking. Rong pointed to the corner and said. After hearing this, Lao Wang looked forward and saw that it was indeed leaking, and there was a lot of leakage. He thought, alas! What bad luck! This is really, as the saying goes, misfortunes never come singly. God is deliberately causing trouble with us poor people. If these two huts are really going to collapse, what will we do then? Well, OMG. God is deliberately causing trouble with us poor people. If these two huts are really going to collapse, what will we do then? Well, OMG. Rong's mother, hurry up and get the basin, wait a little longer, this house is about to become a river. Alas! God really deliberately makes things difficult for the poor. Rong's mother listened to her husband's words and hurriedly took the bathing basin up to catch the leaking rain. Fortunately, there was only one leak. If there were too many leaks, even if the house wouldn't collapse, it would turn into a river. At this time, the cool air greatly reduced the heat inside and outside Agui's body, and he woke up a little. His eyes were already burning red. At this time, the cool air greatly reduced the heat inside and outside Agui's body, and he woke up a little. His eyes were already burning red. When he opened them and looked around, he was very surprised when he saw the scene in the room and didn't understand what happened. He wanted to speak, but his throat hurt and it was difficult to speak. He hummed for a long time before humming a sentence. Mom. I'm thirsty. After he drank a bowl of cold water, his mind became clearer. Although he didn't have the energy to talk much. He wanted to speak, but his throat hurt and it was difficult to speak. He hummed for a long time before humming a sentence. Mom. I'm thirsty. After he drank a bowl of cold water, his mind became clearer. Although he didn't have the energy to talk much. But he already knew clearly that he was sick now and was lying on the bamboo bed. He saw the sad faces of his parents and knew that they were all because of him, because he was fired from the factory and now his son was sick and lying on the bamboo bed. He then remembered the events of the day clearly, how he prepared to work in the factory this morning, how he walked into the factory gate, how he was stopped by Jiang Guangci, how he was bullied by Jiang Guangci, how he was disappointed walked out of the factory. How sad he felt at that time. He couldn't help but let out a deep sigh. Ague. How on earth did you get fired? Ague didn't answer his father. Lao Wang then said, "It's really weird to fire you instead of firing others. Why did Sean fire you?" Ague is still silent. "He is not feeling well now, please don't ask him so hard." "Why did Sean fire you?" Ague is still silent. "He is not feeling well now, please don't ask him so hard. When he gets better, it's not too late for you to ask." Lao Wang didn't listen to his wife's plea, and continued. "I know, I know. It's probably because of some trade union thing." Sigh. "You don't want to think about how the capitalists can oppose it. You don't care about anything, but just rely on your own blood to make trouble. It's so good to make trouble, and now you have lost your job." Lao Wang paused for a moment. He lowered his voice slightly and continued, "We poor people are born poor. We should live in peace and contentment. As long as we have a bowl of food to eat and don't starve to death, how can we have any unreasonable thoughts? We poor people have no choice but to suffer a loss and suffer a little. There is no other way. For example, I received a severe beating from the red-headed Asen today, and my shoulders and back are still hurting. When I think about it, this is all my fault." How? For example, I received a severe beating from the red-headed Asen today, and my shoulders and back are still hurting. When I think about it, this is all my fault. How? As if it didn't matter, he replied, "Isn't it? My shoulder and back are still hurting now. We were born poor, so we have to endure it, yes, we have to endure it." He fell silent. His wife looked at him stupidly and didn't say a word. When Ague heard his father's words at first, he seemed to think there was some truth to them. Maybe it's my own fault. Maybe it's because I'm too restless. Maybe I shouldn't have done anything in the trade union. Now I've lost my job, and it's not just me. And it affects the whole family. What should we do? Things are irreversible. He is ready to admit his fault in front of his parents. It is absolutely not the fault. It is always my fault, Wang Ague's. Suddenly, the incident about the ants during the day came to his mind. He imagined the struggle between the little ant and the black ant, and the heroic and unyielding spirit of the little ant. He couldn't help but shudder, and then he seemed to fall into a sea of humiliation. He looked so humiliated that he died. He thought, "What's wrong? Am I worse than a little ant? Not as good as a little ant, but still a person. I was fired. Is it my fault? Jiang Guangci showed favor to the capitalists and got me fired. Can I just let him go? Can I really endure it when he bullies me like this? No, absolutely not. I must take revenge. If I don't take revenge, I won't be a human being. I'm not even as good as a little ant. I am not at fault. I'm not at fault at all." His anger burned. His mind seemed confused. He vaguely seemed to see the little ant laughing at him and despising him. Then he saw many, many little ants laughing at him and despising him. Ah! Not good. Countless little ants crawled on his body, got into his ears, nose, mouth, and seemed to have got into his heart. He felt the pain and itching so much that he became possessed and screamed wildly. He admitted that the ants were punishing him. Then he cried out imploringly. Ouch! Please leave me. I will definitely take revenge. I will definitely kill my enemy. I will definitely kill Jiang Guangci. The two old couples saw Ague suddenly screaming for no reason and moving his limbs wildly, as if he was crazy. They couldn't help but look at each other in horror, unable to even speak. It was Arong who asked first. Mom! Mom! What's wrong with my brother? Ague suddenly jumped off the bamboo bed and shouted. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take revenge, I'm going to kill my enemy. After saying this, he ran to the door to open it and go out. At this time, the strong wind and rain had not subsided, and it looked like thousands of horses galloping outside the house. The two old couples were horrified when they saw Ague opening the door to go out. They quickly stepped forward and hugged Ague, preventing him from opening the door. Seeing this scene, little Arong was so horrified that she started crying. You! What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? It's raining heavily outside. As Ague's mother talked, she and her husband pushed Ague onto the bamboo bed and sat down. Ague seemed to understand at this time. He calmed down and looked at his parents. After taking a look, he lowered his head again. Don't say a word. After a while, his parents saw that he had calmed down, and then they released their hands and felt a little relieved. Finally, his father asked him gently, Ague, what's wrong with you? Huh? Nothing, Dad. I just had a dream. Chapter 2. Well. What a world this is. The wind and rain in June come very suddenly, but they also dissipate very quickly. What a world this is. The wind and rain in June come very suddenly, but they also dissipate very quickly. The storm last night lasted for almost half of the night and stopped, and it was clear and cloudless again this morning. But it's much cooler than yesterday. According to what Ague's parents had guessed, thanks to the blessing of Bodhisattva, Ague passed away peacefully without anything terrible happening during the night. When they woke up this morning, they saw that Ague's mind was very innocent. I felt unusually relieved, as if a huge burden had been lifted off me. They seemed to have forgotten Ague's sin, or because they were afraid of causing him to feel uneasy, they didn't even mention a word about what happened yesterday. This pair is poor. The poor old couple only had this one son. Although they were very angry at Ague for not abiding by his duties and were fired from the factory, their love for their son finally suppressed this anger. They only have one son. What would happen if Ague was blamed so hard that Ague was forced to make other mistakes? Besides, Ague is also ill, and the patient cannot accept his anger. They both thought that although Ague was temporarily fired from the factory, he had no job. Does it mean that there will never be a job? No, absolutely not. Ague is not a useless and stupid child. In any case, he can find something to do. Therefore, they slowly forgot about what happened yesterday. They were counting on Ague to take care of him in old age. Yes, they should take good care of Ague and not cause anything unfortunate to happen to Ague. If something bad happens to Ague, then I'm afraid they won't be able to survive these 2 old lives. Agiruo is dead. So who will they rely on? Doesn't it mean that you will suffer even more when you get older? Moreover, Ague was fired from the factory. This may not be entirely Ague's fault. Maybe it was Jiang Guangci who deliberately wanted to harm him. Look at his sinister face and ghost eyes. Yes. I'm afraid it's the kid's fault. Ague is not at fault. Now an old couple only hopes that Ague's illness will get better soon and he will be healthy soon. Even if Ague has no job now and sits at home with nothing to do, but if he can sit at home in good health. That's nothing. What I'm afraid of is that he is sick, and what I'm afraid of is that other unfortunate things will happen to him. But because Ague lost his job, the 2 old couples had to work harder to make money. While Ague was working in the factory, he could also receive wages to support his family. But now that Ague is sitting at home, he will be the one being supported. Therefore, Ague's father had to push the car out to look for business early, and Ague's mother, although her red eyes hindered her from working. I had to take the tattered bamboo basket out early and go around asking, "Do you want to mend your clothes? Do you want to mend your clothes? Life is so hard. Money is so hard to make. The amount consumed by Ague's family is very small. But in order to maintain this small amount of consumption, he, his mother, and his father had to work as hard as cattle and horses, and had to do their best to explore pitifully. Ague and his little sister Arong stayed at home. Ague got up this morning. Although his consciousness returned to normal, his limbs felt weak and extremely weak. He had never been so weak before. He deeply hated himself for being so useless. Why did a minor illness make me so weak? Even though I had minor illnesses before. But I just felt uncomfortable and it passed away for a while. But now that he is in such a weak state, his legs have almost no strength to move. This is really unexpected. Maybe I lost weight and lost my human shape. Then he remembered that he had a small mirror in the drawer of the tribute table. Why not take it out and take a look at it to see how slim he looked? When he picked up the small mirror and took a look, he saw an unfamiliar face in the mirror. His hair is as fluffy as a prisoner's, his complexion is red and black, his eyes are deeply sunken and look very big, and his cheeks are horribly thin. Hey! Who is this? This is simply not Ague anymore. Ague can still remember his old appearance. His hair was combed smoothly. Although his complexion is not very white, it is not unpleasantly dark either. His cheeks are very plump and round, and he has a pair of clear and lively eyes. But the person in the mirror now? This is simply a ghost. But Ague has never really believed in ghosts. Moreover, even if there are ghosts, they can only appear at night. How can there be ghosts when you get up early in the morning? For a moment, Ague seemed to really see a ghost, but he immediately realized that this was not a ghost, nor was it the face of someone else. This was exactly himself. This is Wang Ague, who is looking at himself in the mirror. Ague couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Oh, I've become like this now. Ague got up and stumbled out of the door for a change of air. At this time, the morning sun first appeared, and the dewdrops on the grass shone in the sunlight. The air is unusually fresh. He braced his shoulders, stretched his wrists, and took a few long breaths toward the rising sun. He felt extremely refreshed at this moment, as if he had just come out of a dark, stuffy, and deep prison. In the past, he ate haphazardly as soon as he got up. After eating, he hurriedly left home and walked into the factory gate. He never noticed the lovely sunrise, the bright dewdrops, and the refreshing air. But today he felt this. He seemed to have just begun to feel the vitality of nature, and seemed to feel the benefits of morning for the first time. He was very surprised at this time. Why didn't he feel this when he got up early every day in the past? Could it be said that today's morning is special? After he took a few breaths, it felt very refreshing, so he was very satisfied. He was very satisfied that he could feel things today that he could not feel in the past. Woo! Woo! After he heard the factory chimney roaring several times, he was very reluctant to move his eyes in the direction of the factory. He saw the factory building, he saw the smoke coming out of the chimney, and he heard the sound of machinery in the factory in the distance. He couldn't help but sigh deeply. On the one hand, he seemed happy to be freed from the peculiar prison in which he had spent his golden years, his childhood, and from which he could only now feel the beauty of this morning, but on the other hand, he thought, He didn't want to think about it any further because he was afraid of thinking about what would happen to him in the future. How will he live in the future? What should I do? Or go to another factory to find a job? Or push a cart like your father? Better go, He really didn't want to go any further because it was very distressing to him. Ague sighed towards the factory and walked into the house listlessly. By this time Ague's mother had already cooked breakfast and asked him to eat. While eating, he secretly glanced at his parents. They were always silent and did not pay attention to Ague, as if Ague had not caused anything. But there was a deep melancholy expression on both of their faces. Although they tried their best to behave as usual and did not want to trouble Ague in the slightest, Ague could feel deeply how painful their moods were on their faces. The ground is restless. Ague wanted to tell them about his experience in the factory, and wanted to say a few words to comfort them, but for some reason, he just didn't say it. Only the innocent little Aaron does not know sorrow, worries, and calculations. As long as she has food to eat. As for where the food she ate came from, and whether her parents paid for it with their hard work, she really couldn't ask these questions. However, her fate was not good, and sometimes her little heart felt deeply distressed. Other people's children often wear new clothes, often buy candies, and often buy fun things, but Aaron can only look at them and envy them. She really doesn't understand this. Why do other people's children have nice clothes to wear and candies to eat? What to play with? Why don't my parents buy it for me? Does it mean that my parents don't love me? After the meal was finished, Ague watched a pair of poor old parents go out in a hurry. The mother was holding a bamboo basket filled with repairs. The father pushed the cart. Ague, you stay at home and guard the door with your little sister. After hearing his mother's words before leaving, Ague couldn't help but feel sad and shy. What's sad is, my mother's red eyes, her appearance of a poor old woman. My father's haggard expression reflects the hunchback he developed from pushing a cart. It's so sad to think of him at such an old age, with such an unhealthy body, yet still working endlessly every day. Could it be that they were both born into poverty? Well, they have never lived a good life. From childhood to old age, they have been living in poverty and disaster, living in such wretchedness. The shy one said, "Hello. I, Ague, stay at home." Should the son stay at home and let his elderly parents go out to work? Can I still be considered a son? Not only can I not make money to support my family, but I have also made them suffer and suffer. Where do we start? I am their son, alas. I am their son in vain. When Ague thought of this, his heart felt like it was being boiled with oil. A cold sweat broke out on his face and body. In the past, when I was working in the factory, especially in hot weather, I felt it was very hard. Although it was impossible to imagine, I always wanted to find a way to take a rest. Ague is resting at home today. Logically, he shouldn't feel any pain, but at this time, he would rather work in the factory and suffer the heat than stay at home and sit idle. The pain he felt at this time was even more unbearable. It was something he had never felt before. Ague picked up a short wooden stool, placed it at the door, and sat down with his back against the door. He went into deep fantasy, closed his eyes, and seemed to be fast asleep. He did not think of his little sister at this moment. So he didn't pay attention to what his little sister was doing at this time. "Brother. Brother. Look, there are a lot of ants fighting under the wall. Black ants, yellow ants." Oh. Ant? So he didn't pay attention to what his little sister was doing at this time. "Brother. Brother. Look, there are a lot of ants fighting under the wall. Black ants, yellow ants." Oh. Ant? Ants fighting? Ague was awakened from his deep fantasy by his little sister. He couldn't help but trembled all over, as if he had heard some shocking news. He didn't answer his little sister, but then he heard his little sister shout again, "Dash! Brother! Brother! Come and see, they are having so much fun playing." Ague replied in shock. "Okay, you can have fun there." At this moment, Ague remembered what happened to the ants yesterday, the rudeness of the big black ant, the heroic spirit and unyielding spirit of the little ant. His body and mind gradually began to tremble violently. At the same time he felt wrapped up in humiliation and very sad. He thought, "What? Am I not as good as that little ant? The ant has been bullied by its own kind, but it still has to resist desperately. I am a person, alas. I am a person. I have been bullied by others. Of bullying. Is it just like this? Hello. This person, I am not even worth a little ant. Yes, I want revenge. If I don't take revenge, I can't be considered a person. I should be thrown into the cesspool and drowned. How can I feel sorry for Jiang Guangci? Why does he want to work for the capitalists and harm me so hard? Should I just let him go like this? I must kill him, yes, I must kill him without hesitation. Well, I don't know how many people this kid has killed. He killed my dear friend Li Chuanfa, and Mr. Shen Yufang, who was not guilty at all. He thought of this, and suddenly Shen Yufang's past reappeared in front of him. I don't know how many people this kid has killed. He killed my dear friend Li Chuanfa, and Mr. Shen Yufang, who was not guilty at all. He thought of this, and suddenly Shen Yufang's past reappeared in front of him. This happened at the end of the first month of this year. A compulsory school for civilians was opened in T Lane, S Road, with 2 classes, day and night. Who opened this school? Where did the funds come from? No one knows about these things. But because school is compulsory, therefore, many workers' children go to school. Ague is a very smart young worker. He has long wanted to read some books and know some words. Therefore, many workers' children go to school. Ague is a very smart young worker. He has long wanted to read some books and know some words. He often feels the pain of not being able to read, so he is very... I never had the chance to study, but I just fantasized about it. Ague couldn't help being very happy when he heard the news about the opening of a compulsory school for civilians in T. The opportunity to study that he had dreamed of had now arrived, so he signed up for the night shift. He didn't have time to study during the day shift because he was tied up with work during the day. When he took his first Chinese language class, the teacher was a woman of about 22 or 3 years old, wearing the attire of a female student, very simple. However, her clothes are very elegant, her face is round and fair, and her eyes are smiling, showing a very kind and lovely look. Her body seemed frail, but her spirit was strong. Before class, she first said some words of encouragement to the students. Her voice was very gentle, but at the same time it was very loud. What she said was to this effect: "We opened this compulsory school for civilians because the poor did not have the opportunity to study. I hope that after you enter school, you will study hard and sincerely, and don't make fun of it. Nowadays, only rich people have the opportunity to study, but poor people do not. Therefore, only rich people know about everything in society and only rich people ask. I hope that after you enter school, you will study hard and sincerely, and don't make fun of it. Nowadays, only rich people have the opportunity to study, but poor people do not. Therefore, only rich people know about everything in society and only rich people ask. And we poor people are like fools, listening to their mercy. But now that we have a little chance, we should read it carefully and improve our knowledge." When this female teacher was giving a speech, Ague stared at her as she opened her mouth under the electric light, and saw her expression that was gentle and stern at times. On the surface, Ague seemed to be paying attention to her speech, but in fact he was almost not paying attention at all. Didn't hear what she said. At this time, Ague just sank into the abyss of fantasy. This is a young lady, maybe the young lady of that family? Maybe a female student studying in the university hall? This school is a compulsory school for civilians, and we are here to study. If she doesn't pay, it's obvious that she is teaching for nothing. Why should she come and teach for free? Is there any benefit? It's not good to sit at home and be a young lady. Why come and hang out with poor people like us? Very strange. I simply don't understand it at all, weird thing. She is so kind and lovely. But she is so solemn. I have rarely seen a woman like this. Very strange. There is such a woman to teach us the poor man's book. Yes, Ague simply didn't understand what kind of person the woman he saw was at this time. But Ague felt that the impression this female teacher gave him for the first time would remain in his memory forever and he would never forget it. From then on, Ague became a student in a civilian compulsory school. The more he got to know the female teacher, the closer I get to her, the more I feel that she is an extraordinary woman. Her smile, her words, her movements, and everything about her felt sacred to Ague. Ague thinks she is a very lovely woman. At the same time, she is a very respectable woman. In his short life history, Ague never felt that he was happy. If there was such a happy moment, it would probably be when he was talking to this female teacher. Or maybe it was time he saw her smile. No matter which student a female teacher treats, she treats her son, brother, or friend just as a mother, sister, or friend treats her. Ague's innocence, intelligence, and loyalty particularly attracted the attention of the female teacher. So she often said to Ague with a smile, "Ague, you are very good. Just read it carefully. You are very promising." After Ague heard the female teacher's praise for him, he worked even harder. This was probably the happiest time in his life. Sometimes the female teacher asked Ague about the situation at home and the treatment in the factory in a very gentle and caring tone. After Ague told her in detail, she often sighed deeply, Alas! What a world this is! Is this human life? Ha! This cannot continue like this. These words were not said to Ague, but after hearing these words, Ague deeply felt how her heart was for him, for his parents, and for some hard work. Poor people are suffering. No one has ever asked Ague so tenderly, or cared so much about Ague's life at home. Therefore, Ague not only treated her like a husband, but also secretly felt that she was, oh, what was she? Ague obviously never regarded her as a proper person, but he always felt that she was the person he respected the most. Perhaps unconsciously, he regarded her as his sister and mother. Or the Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva that my mother always talked about. After entering the civilian compulsory school, Ague gradually stopped believing in God because some teachers were atheists and all they said were godless words. Like his mother, he had deeply believed in Guanyin Bodhisattva, but now he thought this was a fool's errand. He realized, all bodhisattvas and gods are lies and do not exist. If bodhisattvas really exist, then they should protect good people and protect people who do not do bad things. But in today's world, good people and people who work hard all day long suffer, while evil people, such as our factory owners, such as Jiang Guangci, such as, there is food, drink and clothing. Extremely happy, what on earth is going on? From this perspective, the Bodhisattva is simply the enemy of the poor. Why should we still believe in him? Oh! Defeat the Bodhisattva. Defeat all Guanyin. Extremely happy, what on earth is going on? From this perspective, the bodhisattva is simply the enemy of the poor. Why should we still believe in him? Oh! Defeat the bodhisattva. Defeat all Guanyin and Avalokitesvara. He. Maybe Guanyin is real? Then her incarnation must be Mr. Shen Yufang, our female teacher. Oh! She is just like the Guanyin Bodhisattva her mother said. Such a conscientious woman. But Shen Yufang is a human being after all, and a person who is very opposed to God. He often explained to Agui that Avalokitesvara does not exist, so Agui could not conclude that she was the incarnation of Avalokitesvara. If Shen Yufang is the incarnation of Guanyin, then why would she oppose herself? Agui is very good at thinking about this truth. Although he believed in Shen Yufang just as his mother believed in Guanyin, he knew very well that there was no relationship between Shen Yufang and Guanyin. Among the classmates, Li Chuanfa was the one who had the best friendship with Agui. Li Chuanfa is also a worker in S cotton factory. He is slightly older than Agui. He is a very smart and capable young man who is extremely serious about his work. Li Chuanfa is also a worker in S cotton factory. He is slightly older than Agui. He is a very smart and capable young man who is extremely serious about his work. In terms of knowledge, he is much more developed than Agui, and therefore, Agui secretly respects him. Agui gradually realized that Shen Yufang and Li Chuanfa were closer. Sometimes she would call Li Chuanfa upstairs, or far away from the classroom, and secretly and softly say something to him that seemed intimate and secretive. According to their situation, it didn't seem like there was any love relationship involved, but the fact that they were so close and spoke so secretly made Agui secretly feel unhappy. He thought, why is Mr. Shen so close to Li Chuanfa? Li Chuanfa is almost the same as me. Why do they avoid me when they talk? Could it be said that they have some kind of love relationship? Not like it. Not like it. Absolutely not the same. Why do they avoid me when they talk? Could it be said that they have some kind of love relationship? Not like it. Not like it. Absolutely not the same. But why are they doing this? Maybe Mr. Shen hates me? Maybe she looks down on me? But I am similar to Li Chuanfa. Why do you have to look down on me? Maybe they have something secretly going on. This kind of thing cannot be made public. Maybe. But why hide it from me? Shouldn't I do whatever Mr. Shen asks me to do? I will definitely do it. As long as Li Chuanfa can do anything, Wang Agui can also do it. But why didn't Mr. Shen ask me to do it? Agui thought about it and couldn't solve it. Sometimes he wanted to ask Li Chuanfa openly what he and Mr. Shen were doing. But Agui didn't know why, so he was too timid to ask. His mood at this time seemed to be jealous but not jealous, complaining but not complaining, humiliated but not humiliated. I couldn't tell what it was like. He sometimes thought that was why Mr. Shen didn't believe him. It was because he was not as good as Li Chuanfa. It was his own fault. He couldn't help but feel a little sad again. Later, it was Li Chuanfa who explained his relationship with Mr. Shen to Agui first. He said that Mr. Shen was not an ordinary female teacher, but a female revolutionary. He said, Several workers in the factory have organized a secret group. If Ague is willing, he can join. You are such a bastard. Why didn't you tell me earlier? No wonder you are so sneaky and confusing to me. You are such a bastard. You've only told me about it now. Don't you think you still believe me? After hearing what Li Chuanfa said, Ague asked him this question. Of course, Li Chuanfa was very satisfied, and from then on he introduced Ague to the so-called secret group. In every meeting, Ague was able to talk to Shen Yufang more intimately, and he could understand more clearly who Shen Yufang was, so he loved and respected Shen Yufang even more. On the other hand, it is strange to say that since Ague joined the group, it seems that I gradually feel that I am an adult, not an ordinary child who knows nothing about the world. Regarding this aspect, not only Ague himself was aware of it, but also Ague's parents were gradually aware of it. An old couple often said secretly, "It's very strange. Ague's words and actions have changed recently. The Bodhisattva doesn't believe it anymore. He doesn't believe anything." An old couple often said secretly, "It's very strange. Ague's words and actions have changed recently. The Bodhisattva doesn't believe it anymore. He doesn't believe anything." You see, reading like this is so good. Even the Bodhisattva doesn't believe it anymore. Of course, the poor old couple couldn't understand the changes in Ague's heart, they could only feel it was strange. They are both too old, so their minds are tightly bound by old chains, no matter what. I never thought how a person could live without believing in bodhisattvas. Especially for Ague's mother, if she didn't believe that a bodhisattva was protecting her, she might have passed away a long time ago. In April this year, unprecedented political changes occurred in Esport. Ague participated in several mass demonstrations and saw with his own eyes many workers, including old men, old women, young girls, very small children, who were shot and stabbed in large numbers. Arrest after arrest, all kinds of inhumane horrors. Fortunately, Ague escaped with his life, but his grief and indignation, his grief and indignation cannot be expressed in words. He cried bitterly several times. Haha. This kind of revolution is so good that it even saves the lives of us poor people. Hey! Make his mother. We have to do. Fortunately, Ague escaped with his life, but his grief and indignation, his grief and indignation cannot be expressed in words. He cried bitterly several times. Haha. This kind of revolution is so good that it even saves the lives of us poor people. Hey! Make his mother. We have to do it. It's just death in the end. At this time, Shen Yufang continued her secret work. One night, when Shen Yufang was in the lecture hall, Jiang Guangci led 5 or 6 patrols and caught her. Li Chuanfa saw that she looked wrong and immediately thought try to escape. But Jiang Guangci's eyes were very sharp and he had already seen where Li Chuanfa was sitting. He stepped forward and grabbed Li Chuanfa's hair, scolding and sarcastically saying, Haha. Do you still want to run away? From now on, I will discipline you and stop being weird. Let me see if you organize another trade union and oppose us again. Haha. At this time, Ague thought that he couldn't escape, so he might as well sit still and see how they dealt with them. Unexpectedly, after they captured Shen Yufang and Li Chuanfa, they walked out. On the one hand, Ague was glad that he was not arrested, but on the other hand, seeing Shen Yufang and Li Chuanfa being dragged away by them like robbers, he felt so sad that he couldn't help but burst into tears. There were more than 20 students in class at this time, including children. There were adults too. When everyone saw Ague crying, they all burst into tears, as if their parents had died. Ague expected that their lives would be hard to save, so he couldn't help but think, why don't I go with them? If they are dead, can I live alone? What's the point of living in this kind of world? Really, it would be better to die. Well, what a world this is. There is simply no sense left. Here, why is this guy Jean Kue so vicious? I really have no conscience at all. What a shameless piece of shit. Brother. Come and see, these black ants have been defeated by the yellow ants. Yellow ants are so powerful. What a shameless piece of shit. Brother. Come and see, these black ants have been defeated by the yellow ants. Yellow ants are so powerful. When one after another past events were emerging in Ague's mind, Arong disturbed Ague's memory with the incident of ants fighting. Ague thought again about the situation of the ants yesterday. That's the decision. I should learn from ants. Am I really worse than an ant? If Mr. Shen and Li Chuanfa knew better after they died, they would probably laugh at me secretly underground. They both want to laugh at my worthless thing. Yes, I want to avenge them both. Ague said these words to himself. His little sister just thought she was her brother, so she came to Ague. Ague saw the little sister coming. He pulled her into his arms and stroked her braid with his hands. Ague loved his little sister very much. Whenever he walked in the door after work, he would make love to her, give her a hug, or kiss her. Arong's parents never gave her change to buy food with her, but Ague sometimes gave her 1 or 2 copper coins to buy food, so she was very happy with her brother. Ague was very gentle with his little sister and rarely beat or scolded her. It can be said that he has never beaten or scolded her. Sometimes when Arong was beaten and scolded by her parents, she would always run into her brother's arms and regard him as her protector. Ague is very concerned about the life of his little sister. He has no older siblings or younger brothers. There is only this little sister, so he doesn't want this little sister to suffer. He thought that it was unfortunate that this little girl was born as his sister and could not have good food and clothing. How could he still abuse her? And Arong has a pair of smart eyes. She looks like a very cute little girl with a round face. How can Ague not love her? She looks like a very cute little girl with a round face. How can Ague not love her? Arong innocently told her brother about the ants fighting, and her 2 little hands described what the ants looked like when they were fighting. But Ague just stroked her braids with his hands and didn't pay attention to what she said. He seemed to be thinking about something at this time, but even he himself had no idea of what he was thinking about. Arong spoke very enthusiastically at first. Later, she saw that her brother was not enthusiastic about listening to what she said, and she slowly relaxed. Finally she turned around and took out many small stones from her pocket to count and play with, these small stones were picked up by herself. It's her only toy. At this time, Ague seemed to feel a little sorry for his little sister, but it only happened for a moment. He continued to stroke her pigtails, seemingly staring at what he was stroking. In fact, he was in a very confused state of mind at this time and couldn't tell what he was really thinking. Later, he began to recall the past, but at this moment, he seemed to be dreaming again. He seemed to be together with Li Chuanfa one night, for some unknown reason. Where they came from and where they were going, the two of them passed by the 4th Avenue. At this time, the electric lights on both sides of the street were very bright, and the pedestrians were crowded like a wave, which was very lively. The two of them walked to the entrance of Qinglian Pavilion. There were so many people going up and down the stairs, and it seemed like there was something particularly tempting to the audience upstairs. At this time, Ague thought, what kind of place is this? Isn't it a very fun place? It's better to go upstairs and have a look and see what's up there. He thought of this and was about to propose something to Li Chuanfa when he suddenly heard Li Chuanfa say, Ague, have you been here? This is a tea house. Let's go upstairs and have a cup of tea. I'm thirsty. Then let's go up. When they reached the stairs, many women wearing bright clothes came up to welcome them, and there were also many old women, who seemed to be their mothers but not their mothers, who helped them pull them in. At this time Ague was very frightened. A heart was beating hard inside. My God! What kind of place is this? Why are these women dragging people down like this? What kind of situation is this? Why don't you go down? This place must not be a good place. Ague is still a virgin. He was afraid of approaching women, and when he saw these goblin-like women coming to pull him away, he couldn't help but scream in fright. He suddenly felt that someone was holding his right hand, hugging his waist, grabbing his clothes, in short. He was surrounded by urgency. Just when he was about to shout for help, Li Chuanfa grabbed his left hand, rushed to the ground, rescued him from the crowd, and escaped from the encirclement. Li Chuanfa picked a tea table and sat down with Ague. At this time, Ague's head was already dizzy with fright, but his heart continued to beat witheringly. Ague, are you scared? Ha ha ha, have you never been here before? If it weren't for me today, man, you would be in trouble. Ha ha ha. You are such a bastard. Who asked you to bring me here? This place, alas, is really hard to come by. Li Chuanfa just smiled and didn't answer. At this time, the waiter had already brewed the tea. While Ague was drinking tea with a teacup, he looked around at the surrounding scene. The human voice was so noisy. Miscellaneous. There were so many heads, male, female, old, young, bald, bearded, pink-faced. The heads were shaking in a confused manner, which made Ague's head dizzy even more. Suddenly he felt that some women with oily hair and pink faces were smiling at him, and at first they smiled flatteringly. Later, it turned into a bitter smile, as if they were about to cry to him with tears in their eyes. Finally, their faces gradually became bruised and swollen, and they smiled ferociously at Ague like ghosts, which forced Ague. Ague shivered and didn't dare to look at them anymore. Lower your head slowly. His heart was beating uncontrollably and painfully. At the same time, it seemed as if he had encountered something dangerous. He was so frightened that his hair stood on end and he broke out in a cold sweat. He was extremely doubtful, miserable, and afraid. But he couldn't express it. After a pause, he seemed to hear the people in the next seat on the right talking. One was the voice of an old man in his 40s or 50s, and the other was the voice of a girl of 14 or 15. This voice was unusually delicate and pitiful. Just like the cry of a bird. You have a pretty face, but I don't know if that little thing of yours is good, haha. Stop pestering me. Invite your master to come to my room and show off. Go quickly. Go quickly. Okay? How much does it cost to stay a night? Just do as you please. Ague raised his head and looked at the next seat. He saw an old man in his 50s with a mustache holding a very young girl, who was only 15 years old at most. The scene is teasing over there. The old man held her weak waist with his left hand and rubbed her body with his right hand. Finally, he teased her two small nipples that were not very developed and therefore not very protruding. She did not refuse these actions. Seems to think this is a common thing. She just forced a fake smile, her two round little eyes shot a pleading light at him, and she ran her hands through his very straight beard, deliberately flattering him. At this time, the old man had an obscene expression and the little girl had a pitiful look. This aroused Ague's suspicion and hatred. What happened? Is this true? How can such a thing exist in the world? Oh, this is really unreasonable. An old man in his 50s and a little girl in her 14s and 15s. Moreover, the old man is so fat and the little girl is so weak. This is really unreasonable. For a moment, Ague seemed not to believe that what he saw was real. He lowered his head again and meditated on this extremely miserable situation. Unfair phenomenon. Ague. What are you still thinking about? Can you watch someone insulting your little sister with such indifference? After hearing this, Ague looked up and saw that the person sitting opposite him was not Li Chuanfa, but Mr. Shen Yufang. This made him surprised and confused. At this time, Shen Yufang was still dressed as usual, but the expression on her face was extremely sad and serious, her eyes were full of tears, and her lips were trembling abnormally. Dang, Ague was confused. Just when he was about to ask Shen Yufang, he suddenly heard Shen Yufang say, Ague, do you know? In this society, girls from poor families are always insulted by rich people. Look at what your little sister looks like now. Shen Yufang said this. Pointing her hand to the right, she meant to ask Ague to look in the direction she pointed. Ague obeyed her wishes and looked towards the other seat where he had been, and saw the old man and the little girl still teasing and playing there. A while passed. The little girl who was leaning on the old man's arms turned her face and cast her eyes straight on Ague. Ague was not very surprised at first, but then he gradually realized that her face was similar to Arong's. When Ague realized this, it was strange to say the least. The more he looked at her, the more she looked like his little sister. These two round little eyes, these two round little smiles, this small mouth like a cherry, all of this is simply Arong, This is simply Ague's little sister. Is this really my little sister? Ague couldn't believe what he saw in front of him. He thought he might be dazzled under the electric light, or he might have recognized the wrong person, so he rubbed his eyes with his hands to see if they were real or fake, but the result of the inspection was, this is indeed Arong. This is indeed Ague's little sister. At this time, Ague's anger broke out, so he walked forward without fear, pulled the little girl from the old man's arms to his side, and then cursed at the old man, What the hell are you? How dare you bully my little sister like this? You son of a bitch. Brother. You. Ague was awakened by Arong's voice. When he opened his eyes, he saw the little sister standing in front of him, and the old man, Shen Yufeng, Li Chuanfa, all were gone. Ague stayed for a long time. Then I gradually realized that I was in a dream, and all the scenes were unreal. But everything he saw in this dream was deeply imprinted on his mind, and he remembered very clearly what Shen Yufeng said word for word. In this society, poor women are always insulted by rich men. Ague couldn't help but tremble a little as she recalled the meaning of these two sentences. At this time, Arong saw her brother in such a state and just rolled her two little eyes, unable to guess what he was encountering. Poor women are always insulted by rich men. Ague couldn't help but tremble a little as she recalled the meaning of these two sentences. At this time, Arong saw her brother in such a state and just rolled her two little eyes, unable to guess what he was encountering. What? Ague looked at the little sister standing in front of him and recalled the scene in his dream. Finally, he brought her little head to his mouth, kissed her hard several times, and sighed deeply. Tone. In this society, poor women are always insulted by rich men. The more Ague thought about it, the more he realized that these two sentences were difficult theorems. He thought, how many female workers in the cotton mill can maintain their innocence? Poor women are always insulted by rich men. The more Ague thought about it, the more he realized that these two sentences were difficult theorems. He thought, how many female workers in the cotton mill can maintain their innocence? Factory owner, accountant, foreman. Even the slightly pretty female workers had to endure their insults. Even I saw a lot of them with my own eyes. Even Jiang Guangci, the bastard, raped many young female workers. Well, a poor woman has to sell her body as well as her strength. Of course, those who become prostitutes are women from poor families. Most of them are forced to do nothing because they have no food to eat. Alas! The world now. Today's society. When Ague thought of this, the scene in his dream again circled in his mind. A fat old man in his 50s and a delicate little girl of 14 or 15 years old. The little girl finally became his little sister. Ague couldn't help but shuddered greatly, and his heart was filled with tears. It jumped greatly. So, what's the future for Arong? He asked himself this question. Arong had already left him and was squatting on the ground playing with pebbles. Suddenly she heard Ague say her name, so she raised her head and glanced at Ague, but Ague ignored her and continued to think. Road. Arong is a girl from a poor family. Although she is still young and cannot work yet, what will happen in the future? What will happen when she grows up in the future? Going to work in a cotton mill? Then wouldn't she also be bullied? Maybe my little sister will become a prostitute in the future, who can tell for sure? Hello. My little sister also wants to be a prostitute, and also wants to go to Qinglian Pavilion, and also. Hey. Anyway, I don't want this. At this time, Ague's whole body began to tremble, and his heart seemed to be broken. He felt as if he was about to go crazy. Then he gradually fell into a state of madness, even he himself didn't know why. In a state of unclear judgment, he decided, forget it, rather than being insulted in the future, it is better to kill her now. She will die sooner or later anyway. But die cleanly. This decision really happened suddenly, a decision that Ague had never dreamed of. Ague loved his little sister very much and had almost never beaten or scolded her, but now he suddenly decided to take her killed. Killing this innocent little sister that he always loved, little Arong. But how to kill her? Ague continued to think, kill her with a knife? Strangle her with a rope? Or... Oh, yes. Not far from here, there is a deep pool. It would be better to throw her into the water and drown her. Ague decided this way resolutely and without any hesitation. At this moment, Arong was squatting on the ground playing with pebbles, but unexpectedly her brother picked her up. Then her brother walked out the door very quickly, which startled her greatly. Arong saw that the expression on Ague's face was unusual. His eyes were so red that they looked like they were about to bleed, showing a murderous aura that is afraid of others. Seeing this situation, Arong's little heart felt that something terrible had happened, and she was so frightened that she was about to cry. She struggled to get her brother to put her down. But Ague hugged her tightly without saying a word, and ran towards the pool like flying. Ague. Ague. Where are you taking your little sister? Why is she crying so hard? Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on. Come on. As soon as little Arong saw her mother walking towards her carrying a bamboo basket, she shouted desperately to her. At this time, Ague saw his mother and was startled for some reason. It brought him to his senses. So he quickly put Arong down and realized that his state of mind just now was in a crazy state. He couldn't help but feel a fever on his face and felt infinite shame. He admitted that he almost did something extremely cruel and almost killed his little sister. Ague. What the hell is going on with you? Why not take care of the door at home? Arong threw herself into her mother's arms, as if she had found a savior. But Ague was so ashamed that he did not reply to his mother's words. He only turned his face and lowered his head. Walked slowly towards the street. Although his mother called him, he didn't even look back. Chapter 3. You should think about how to destroy your enemies, instead of thinking about how to destroy yourself. It's already noon. Walk slowly towards the street. Although his mother called him, he didn't even look back. Chapter 3. You should think about how to destroy your enemies, instead of thinking about how to destroy yourself. It's already noon. A fiery sun. It is at this time that its brilliance is most severely displayed, and the number of pedestrians passing through the streets is reduced. The air is so hot and dry that you can only wipe your sweat. If you don't have to walk on the street, there will be no trace of a pedestrian on the street. It was a very hot day, with the temperature reaching 105 degrees. Many people died from the heat on this day. It is said that a policeman on guard died at his post, while many rickshaw drivers were dragging the rickshaw away. Suddenly he fell to the ground with a puff, vomited a few mouthfuls of blood, and died. At this time, under the scorching sunshine, on the famous and bustling N Road, there was a young worker wearing a white coarse cloth coat and trousers, a pair of worn shoes, and no hat on his head. Wandering without any destination. He came and went in a daze. The crowded pedestrians did not notice him, and there was no impression of these pedestrians in his mind. Naturally, these pedestrians had their own affairs and had no time to ask the young worker, "What are you doing walking around?" Even if someone asked him this question, he would not be able to answer the question. Sometimes he would stand outside the glass window of Company S and look at some of the precious, strange, and gorgeous goods displayed inside the glass window. He couldn't name these goods, and he didn't know what they were for or how to use them. He just looked at them indifferently and showed no signs of envy, or he was somewhat aware of them. These are probably things that rich people use for fun. They are of little use to poor people and workers like him wearing coarse cloth. Moreover, poor people do not have much time to play with these things. Standing in the glass window was a beautiful Western woman. Her lips were so red, her cheeks were so soft, her eyes were so charming, and her breasts were so protruding, she was like a living beauty. He thought about it, is this also for sale? But he couldn't always decide her use. In the end, he hypothesized a use for her. This is probably something that rich people buy as white makeup. Maybe she can accompany the man to sleep. Thinking of this, on his red and black face that was tanned by the sun. On the face, a little smile lines are showing. Pig. Damn. Don't you have eyes? Our young worker was walking forward blankly with his head lowered. Unexpectedly, he bumped into a man with a mustache in a silk gown. A package in his hand was also knocked to the ground. This made the mustache man furious and started to curse. If he hadn't turned around and left after being hit, our young worker would have slapped him in the face. Our young worker probably knew that he had caused trouble, so he turned around and left, letting him scold him. But just because of the stimulation of this scolding, he consciously thought, "What am I doing walking up and down the street now?" He couldn't give himself an answer. I decided to walk home. Pig. You motherfucker. I'll kill you, you red guy. When he reached Road C and was about to cross the street, a car suddenly whined past him and he was almost hit by the car. Fell down. He couldn't help being startled. At the same time, he heard someone scolding him. When he turned around, he saw an Indian patrolman approaching him, as if he was about to hit him with a morning stick. He couldn't help being surprised again. He didn't understand why, but he understood that the red-headed policeman was coming. Ah, sans morning stick is unreasonable. He immediately ran across the street. But will I be able to go home? The shock of the car and the Indian patrol stirred his thoughts in another way. Mom, don't you want me to scold me when I go back? Ah, Rome was almost killed by me. I am simply a sinner. I can't go home. Then he wandered again. He now regarded himself as a fugitive, thinking that he had committed a huge crime and would never be able to see his father and mother face to face, let alone face each other. My dear little sister. What are you going back for? He thought again, to see the pitiful faces of father and mother? Go home and sit around and eat? Throw the little sister into the pool again? What are you going back for? He was still thinking as he walked, but the way he walked was at a loss. It's not the way home. But what if I don't go home? Where should I go now? He became a little anxious. It's not the way home. But what if I don't go home? Where should I go now? He became a little anxious. Finally, he made up a vague idea. Let's just walk around the street like this. We'll talk about it in the evening. It's better to be crushed to death by a car, so as not to suffer the consequences alive. After being crushed to death by a car, my father and mother could still receive 50 yuan in compensation, and they could live a happy and poor life for at least 2 months. That's fine. Just use this 50 yuan to repay your parents for raising you. Although I can only exchange for 50 yuan for one life, I can't get any money while I'm alive now. Then he made up such a stupid idea. Although the idea was very ridiculous. But he thought this was the best way, and he had no other way out. He thought about it as he walked, and finally decided to realize what he wanted in his heart, so he started walking randomly, walking from one side of the street to the other. He walked from the other side of the street to this side of the street, desperately hoping that a car would suddenly fly over and knock him down, or that he would die immediately. Those who don't know, looking at him in this state, walking around on the street, will definitely conclude that he is going crazy. Or a madman who has gone mad. A sane person would never wander around like this. But in fact, he was not crazy at this time, but indeed had a purpose, although this purpose was very confused. Fortunately, the road he was taking was quiet and there were not many cars, so he failed to achieve his goal. Maybe his fate dictated that he should not die under the car, maybe Guanyin Bodhisattva was secretly blessing him. Because she received his mother's prayers at home, maybe, only God knows. Aren't you Wang Agui? While he was continuing to walk around with his head lowered, he suddenly heard someone calling his name, so he raised his head, composed himself, and took a look with hazy eyes. Seeing a middle-aged man in his 30s who looked like a worker standing in front of him, he was wearing a straw hat and a set of white coarse cloth, but very clean coat and trousers, which was not as dirty as what he was wearing, although his face was dark at that time. However, he is very kind and sympathetic, and his eyes shine with an honest and powerful light, which makes people feel deeply. Agui looked at him. His face seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember his name. Don't you know me? We did things together 2 months ago. Haha. It turned out to be Uncle Ingsheng, which confused me for a moment. Agui showed an expression of infinite happiness and started laughing. Uncle Ingsheng, let me ask you, how are you now? Are you still working in the union? It doesn't matter if it's good or not, it's just a day's work. Jiang Guangci smiled and said naturally, I am still the same as before. How are you now? Your face is much darker than before. How did you do it? Well. It's a long story. Agui lowered his head. Yesterday I heard someone say, "You have been fired from the factory, haven't you?" "Yes." Ague lowered his head. "Yesterday I heard someone say, "You have been fired from the factory, haven't you?" "Yes." "That bastard Jiang Guangci got me fired." Ague answered him miserably and at the same time angrily. "Oh. This bitch made it." It's really hateful to specifically work against us. Do you know? He almost killed me too. When Zhang Yingxing said this, he frowned, sighed, and fell silent. In an instant, he remembered the past. That was one night. Jiang Yingxing was holding a secret meeting with 4 comrades in the front building of a house in Hepping Lane to discuss the outline of the current work. At that time, everyone was very cautious and did not dare to speak loudly. Jiang Yingxing and a man named Wang Dequan also put pistols beside them. Be prepared for temporary changes. Suddenly they heard someone knocking on the door sharply downstairs. Everyone knew something was wrong, so they decided that the 2 comrades without guns climbed over the ceiling to escape first, leaving Jiang Yingxing and Wang Dequan to watch the scene. The knocking on the door became louder and louder. The 2 of them walked downstairs, walked quietly to the door, and looked at the crack in the door. It turned out that there were 3 armed patrolmen, who looked like they were here to arrest someone. The 2 of them looked at the crack of the back door and saw that there were also 2 armed patrolmen guarding it. Jiang Yingxing thought, "It's broken. What should I do? Is it better to resist or run away?" Before Jiang Yingxing could decide on a strategy, the patrol officer had already opened the door. Wang Dequan immediately fired his gun and killed a patrol officer who came in first. However, Wang Dequan himself was injured and fell to the ground. The other 2 patrol officers did not see Jiang Yingxing hiding in the corner next to the door, so they walked into the living room to search. Jiang Yingxing slipped out of the door without warning and fired 2 shots at them. After Jiang Yingxing fired the gun, he ran away like flying. I don't know if the 2 patrolmen were injured. Afterwards, some people said that this happened because Jiang Guangci went to the patrol room to report. "Uncle Yingxing, I have no way out now." Ague's words interrupted Jiang Yingxing's memories of the past. He didn't hear what Ague said to him clearly, and as if he woke up from a dream, he quickly asked Ague, "Where are you going now?" "I'm not going anywhere, I just want to be hit by a car." "Joke. A man wants to be hit by a car." "Hey, let me ask you, have you had lunch?" Ague has never thought about eating since he wandered around in the morning, and he doesn't feel hungry in his stomach. Now he suddenly heard Jiang Yingxing asking him if he had eaten, and he quickly touched his stomach with his hand. I immediately felt extremely hungry and uncomfortable. "I haven't eaten yet." Ague shook his head as if he was weak. "I was so busy that I didn't even eat." "Okay, let's go to my house to eat now." I immediately felt extremely hungry and uncomfortable. "I haven't eaten yet." Ague shook his head as if he was weak. "I was so busy that I didn't even eat." "Okay, let's go to my house to eat now." Arriving at Jiang Yingxing's home. This is a small pavilion with stained walls. The furnishings are very simple: a canvas bed, a square wooden table, 2 small round wooden chairs, and some odds and ends. This is the usual form of a secret worker, if a layman. You can tell at a glance what kind of person lives in such a house. Especially for a secret worker who is a worker, the furnishings in his house will be extremely simple. Ague was probably too weak from walking. You can tell at a glance what kind of person lives in such a house. Especially for a secret worker who is a worker, the furnishings in his house will be extremely simple. Ague was probably too weak from walking too much or from being hungry. After entering the pavilion, he lay down on the cot, as straight as a dead body. Zhang Yingxing had no time to talk to Ague, so he turned on the gasoline stove and started cooking. The rice was cooked in a moment. He took the 2 bowls of vegetables stored in the drawer, one of which was pickles. A bowl of fried pork with bean skin was taken out and placed on the table. In this way, he began to shout to Ague, who was lying on the cot, "Get up, let's eat." Ague was so tired. Although he felt hungry, he didn't want to get up to eat. A bowl of fried pork with bean skin was taken out and placed on the table. In this way, he began to shout to Ague, who was lying on the cot, "Get up, let's eat." Ague was so tired. Although he felt hungry, he didn't want to get up to eat. After Zhang Yingxing's repeated urging, he stood up with great difficulty. "Ague, let me tell you," Zhang Yingxing suddenly said solemnly after the 2 sat down, "no one knows about my place. It is very secret, you must not tell anyone else. This is an era like this, and this is what we do. Uncle Yingxing, please rest assured, I am not a child, and I will never say anything casually." The 2 began to eat and fell silent. "This is an era like this, and this is what we do. Uncle Yingxing, please rest assured, I am not a child, and I will never say anything casually." The 2 began to eat and fell silent. Almost a minute or 2 passed. Zhang Yingxing suddenly put down his chopsticks, as if he had discovered something, and smiled to himself. "Okay. It turns out that I forgot to drink wine first. No wonder I always feel that eating has no taste." After saying this, he said to Ague, "Ague, can you have wine? Don't you want to eat?" "Well, I have a bad temper, that is, I always drink a little wine before every meal. If I don't do this, I won't be able to eat. Ague, do you think it's strange? This kind of temper is really unacceptable. I always want to change it, but I still haven't. I hate it. Uncle Yingxing. I'm so hungry that I can't eat now. You can eat alone. I'm very tired and want to sleep." Before Ague finished a bowl of rice, he put down his chopsticks, walked to the cot and lay down. Zhang Yingxing didn't interfere with him and started eating wine by himself. Ague fell into a deep sleep within a short time, unaware of when Zhang Yingxing finished his meal or went out. Jiang Guangci is a busy man, and he cannot sleep at home like Ague. There are 2 more meetings to be held in the afternoon. There are still 2 places to go. So after finishing his meal, he closed the door and hurried out. The entire second half of the day disappeared in Ague's deep sleep. At 7 o'clock, Zhang Yingxing had finished his work and returned home, but Ague was still sleeping. Didn't wake up. Zhang Yingxing quietly turned on a small electric lamp and prepared to cook without disturbing him. After Zhang Yingxing finished cooking, Ague still didn't wake up, so he had to call him. Ague opened his sleepy eyes and looked at the scene in the room. He saw Jiang Guangci standing in front of the bed with a smile. He suddenly seemed to have fallen into a dream again. He didn't know where he was now. When Jiang Guangci said to him, "You are also sleeping this time. You slept too long. Let's get up and have dinner." Only then gradually did I understand everything. Get up and have dinner," Jiang Guangci continued to urge. "There is a basin of water here. You can wash your face first." "Did I sleep for most of the day?" Ague asked as if he didn't believe it. "I'm not coming back." Jiang Guangci laughed. "I don't know how long you are going to sleep. Okay, stop being crazy. Wash your face quickly and eat after washing your face." During the meal, the two of them didn't talk much. They just thought about their own concerns silently. What Jiang Guangci was thinking about was not about Ague, but about his work today, organizing the steering committee of unemployed workers and reviewing the work of the anti-scab committee. Ague didn't think about Jiang Guangci at this time, but just planned to, what are you doing? Should he work in another factory, or should he be hit by a car as usual? Well, what should I do? After the meal was finished and everything was cleaned up, it was already 9 o'clock. At this time, the wind started to blow, and the air in the pavilion was no longer as hot as before. Jiang Guangci decided that Ague would sleep on the cot tonight, and he would spread out a bamboo mat on the floor to sleep. The two of them had nothing to do, so they both lay down and fanned themselves. At this time, Jiang Guangci decided to ask about Ague. Ague then told Jiang Guangci exactly how he was fired from the factory. "Ague, what are you going to do now?" Jiang Guangci asked Ague after he finished speaking. "What should I do? There is no way. Didn't I tell you during the day? I'm going to be hit by a car and my family can get 50 yuan in pensions. You are crazy. A person's death must be worthwhile, either being captured and shot by our enemies, or dying against the enemy, or... In a word, if our death is worth it, how can we let a car hit us and kill us in vain? Besides, it's not like you have nothing to do, and you're not blind or lame. You can still find a job. You were fired from S cotton factory. Doesn't it mean that you can't work in other cotton mills? All in all, you can still find something to do. Uncle Guangci, do you know? I simply don't want to do any more work now. I don't know why, but now I always think of people who work hard. Not even as good as cattle and horses. My father and my mother have worked all their lives and suffered all their lives. What benefits have they gained? Not even as good as cattle and horses. My father and my mother have worked all their lives and suffered all their lives. What benefits have they gained? I think it would be better to die than work while alive, don't you think? Life is ultimately about death. Ague. Your statement is simply too confusing. Yes, today's workers are indeed worse than oxen and horses, but you have to know that this won't always be like this. Haven't you heard many revolutionary theories? Why are you so confused now? We should not be discouraged, we should keep going. It is because our life is not good that we want revolution, and that is why I am doing such dangerous things now. Gue, seeking death is only the way out for useless people. We should not do this. After listening to Jiang Guangci's words, Ague remained silent and did not answer. After a pause, Zhang Yingxing continued, I'm older than you, and I've probably endured more hardships than you. In the past, I wanted to throw myself into the Huangpu River several times because I couldn't bear the hardships. I thought life was meaningless. It would be better to die. Later, I gradually realized that this kind of thinking is inappropriate. A person should walk towards the road of life, not the road of death. A person should fight against everything that oppresses him for his own life. Ague, do you understand this? You should understand now that you are an oppressed person. You should think about how to destroy your enemies and people who oppress you, but you should not think about how to destroy yourself. Ague heard this. I couldn't help but tremble all over. I immediately remembered the fight between ants yesterday. He felt so ashamed for a moment, his heart beat a few times, and his ears were on fire. He touched his face with his hands and felt cold sweat. With his eyes dim, he seemed to see countless ants grinning at him and cursing at him. This forced his body to tremble several times in succession. The scenery in the whole room seemed to have changed in an instant. Zhang Yingxing, who was lying on the floor, seemed to have changed his appearance at this time, as if he had turned into a great, dignified giant, standing on the vast desert. The huge arm indicates the path Ague should take. Ague, do you understand? Zhang Yingxing continued to say repeatedly, you should think about how to destroy your enemies and those who oppress you, but not how to destroy yourself. Ague struggled to calm himself down. At this time, he seemed to understand that he was walking randomly on the street during the day. He was simply crazy and incomprehensible. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little funny. As if he had committed a crime and admitted his fault, he said softly, Uncle Yingxing, I understand everything you said. I don't necessarily want to do something stupid like getting hit by a car, but... But what? Zhang Yingxing asked him. Uncle Yingxing. I have made up my mind to do something, but I don't know if I can achieve my goal. What thing should I do? I have made up my mind to bring Zhang Jinkue. Ague stopped before he could finish his words. When Zhang Yingxing heard Zhang Jinkue's name, he sat up and asked in surprise. Now that you have made up your mind, what will you do to Zhang Jinkue? I want him. Ague stopped talking again. What do you want to do with him? You say it. There is no one else here. I want to beat him to death. Ague finally said it timidly. Zhang Yingxing heard this. If he didn't say anything immediately, he would lower his head as if thinking. After a pause, he raised his head and said calmly to Ague. Originally, Zhang Jinkue deserves to die, and we have wanted to get rid of him for a long time. If we don't get rid of him, he will always cause trouble. Because of his whistleblowing, I don't know how many people were killed and how many institutions were broken. But what about me? Ague also sat up at this time. Under the unknown light, it can be seen that his expression was very excited. Because of his whistleblowing, I don't know how many people were killed and how many institutions were broken. But what about me? Ague also sat up at this time. Under the unknown light, it can be seen that his expression was very excited. Do you think I can't do it? Do you think I can't beat him to death? But he is a man of great strength and cunning like a fox. How can you beat him to death? It's better to let others do this. You can vent your anger anyway. If you want. I can find something for you to do. No, Uncle Ingsheng. If I don't beat him to death, then I won't be able to get out of my anger. Then I am not even as good as a little ant. Then I will be laughed at by that little yellow ant. What did you say? Jiang Ingsheng is a little strange. Little yellow ants? Which little yellow ant? Why did you get involved with some ant again? It's that little yellow ant, the little yellow ant that I should worship as my teacher. Before Ague finished speaking, a burst of miserable crying came from the window. It's heart-stopping to hear. Ague continued to listen to the crying with his ears pointed, and then stopped talking for a moment. After a moment of silence, Ague seemed to feel something, so he asked Jiang Ingsheng. Uncle Ingsheng, listen. Do you hear it? The cry seems very close. Maybe it's next door. Why didn't I hear it? I hear it almost every day. It was the cry of an old woman who lived downstairs from us in the front living room. Why does this old woman cry every day? Why do you cry every day? The son was captured and shot. How can you not cry? Jiang Ingsheng was very calm at first, but now his voice became a little sad. The unknown electric light seemed to suddenly increase in gloomy and gray color, and the air in the whole room also dropped half of its heat. Ague listened after hearing what Jiang Ingsheng said. I couldn't think of words for a moment, so I just stared at him with my eyes open. The room fell completely silent. After a few minutes, Ague suddenly asked urgently, Caught and shot? By whom? You are so confused. Of course he was caught and shot by the police. Oh. Uncle Ingsheng, listen. It seems that there is another woman talking with a crying voice just downstairs. The woman who spoke is the daughter-in-law of this old woman. This woman is truly a wonderful woman, she is so good. Bear hardships and be patient. Honest, brave, and sensible, Jiang Ingsheng said this, shook the banana fan a few times, then placed it on his bare chest, and said no more in silence. He stared straight at the ceiling. He looked like he was thinking deeply about something. I ask you, Uncle Ingsheng. Why was this old woman's son captured and shot? What's his name? Ague asked him like this, interrupting his thinking. Could it be because of other things? He is a printer at C Library. I have always been very enthusiastic about revolution. A month ago, workers at Library C went on strike because they demanded a wage increase. The authorities said he was a major figure and a reactionary, and he was arrested and shot. What is killing a worker now? It's easy to compare a chick. Well, thinking about it, it's really. After a pause, Jiang Ingsheng continued. His name is Zhou Chuanfu. He was a very good man, and he was only 29 years old when he died. It's easy to compare a chick. Well, thinking about it, it's really. After a pause, Jiang Ingsheng continued. His name is Zhou Chuanfu. He was a very good man, and he was only 29 years old when he died. His wife, we call her sister-in-law Zhou, is a wonderful woman. Since Zhou Chuanfu's death, this old woman, Zhou Chuanfu's mother, has been supported by her money. She owned a small foreign machine and knitted socks for others every day, and she could barely make a living. The old woman has only one son, and he is a very filial son. How can I not cry day and night when this good son dies? Well, I heard her pitiful cries almost every day. Sometimes I go and say a few words to comfort her, alas. How could he comfort her painful heart? Her daughter-in-law was originally in great pain. But because the old woman looked like this, she had to harden her heart and act calm. Well, she is such a good woman. I have rarely seen a woman as good as her. I think you can marry her as your wife. Ague said this with a smile. Zhang Yingxing seemed a little embarrassed after hearing Ague's words, and said in a somewhat angry tone, Don't talk nonsense. I don't have time to do this kind of thing now. Oh, go to bed, it's already late, I still have a lot of things to do tomorrow. Zhang Yingxing stood up, walked to the door, closed the door carefully with his hands, then walked to the wooden table, opened the drawer, and took out a small pistol. He leaned closer to the light and looked to see if there was anything wrong with any part of the pistol. After studying it in detail, he placed it beside his pillow and immediately lay down straight. After a pause, he asked Ague, Shall we turn off the lights and sleep? After Ague saw the pistol, he had a thought and did not answer him with words. He just nodded to him in agreement. Zhang Yingxing then stood up and turned off the light. After turning it off, he lay down on the floor calmly. It was his habit and the right thing to do to put the pistol next to his pillow before going to bed. No one can be sure that something will not happen at night. Maybe the patrol will come to catch him, maybe someone will come to plot against him. In short, he should always be properly prepared. And this little pistol has a deep history with his life. On the one hand, if it weren't for this small pistol, his life would have been gone for a long time. On the one hand, this small pistol was not bought with money, but in exchange for his life. This was what he got from the enemy in March this year. It was taken from the hands of an officer in the army. In the history of his life, no matter whether he could see whether the great ideal he imagined could be realized, this small pistol was his victory and a precious souvenir of him. Therefore, when Yingxing was working hard and secretly, nothing else could comfort him. The only thing that could comfort him was this pistol that depended on him for life. After running around all day, it should be time for Zhang Yingxing to go to bed. But for a worker who is physically and mentally sound, the pattern of life for him is just revolution, work, thinking, and rest. The rest mentioned here is not a comfortable and exceptional entertainment, but a necessary action, sleep. So Zhang Yingxing fell asleep within a few minutes. Ague was lying peacefully at this time, but not asleep. He may want to be like Zhang Yingxing, falling into a deep sleep and abandoning all annoying thoughts. But he couldn't sleep anyway. Firstly, he slept too much during the day, and secondly, because Zhang Yingxing's small pistol stimulated his thinking. He knew the origin of this pistol and how Zhang Yingxing cherished it. If I ask him to borrow it, Ague thought to himself, then will he agree to me? Then Ague decided, I'm afraid he will not agree. Besides, he doesn't approve of me doing this. Then he will definitely not agree to it. Ague thought about it, but in the end he was disappointed. But on the other hand, Ague decided to realize his wish, thinking that if he didn't beat Jiang Guangci to death, he would have no qualifications as a human being. This decision has become as stable as Mount Tai in Ague's heart, and no amount of force can move it. But there is a question: how to beat Jiang Guangci to death? Just as Zhang Yingxing said, Jiang Guangci is a powerful and cunning person. But there is a question: how to beat Jiang Guangci to death? Just as Zhang Yingxing said, Jiang Guangci is a powerful and cunning person. If he fights with him openly, Ague will definitely fail. Therefore, Ague must find a proper method, otherwise he will never succeed. Ague thought about it over and over at first, but couldn't think of a suitable method. When he saw Zhang Yingxing's pistol, he became happy for a while. He thought he had obtained something that could kill Jiang Guangci. But suddenly he thought that this pistol belonged to Zhang Yingxing after all, and Zhang Yingxing regarded it as precious as his own life and would never lend it to Ague. Ague was disappointed again. Zhang Yingxing was already deeply asleep, and was not aware of the sound of Ague tossing and turning on the bed. The calm night moonlight shines through the window and shines brightly on Zhang Yingxing's head. A small pistol was clearly lying next to Zhang Yingxing's pillow. Ague turned sideways and just stared at the small pistol lying beside Zhang Yingxing's pillow, and used all his brains to fantasize: if he had this pistol, how should he beat Jiang Guangci to death? Suddenly, he heard the cry of the old woman downstairs again, and Ague's heart trembled. He couldn't help but temporarily shift his thoughts to the old woman. The old woman's fate was so tragic. Her daughter-in-law is so wise, and the officials are so cruel. The world today is simply a different world. There must be so many tragic things. It would be better to eliminate such a world. But where's my dad and my mom? Ague suddenly changed his mind and thought of his home. They don't know how they are thinking about me at home. They are really suffering a hard life, alas. They are simply suffering. They are already so old, but they still work hard. Ague thought of this. I couldn't help feeling a little sad, and I couldn't help but let out a deep sigh. If I were captured and shot, Ague continued to think, I don't know what they would do. Zhou Chuanfu died, and his virtuous wife still supported his mother. If I die, who will support my parents? Ague's determination to assassinate Jiang Guangci could not help but waver. The pitiful images of his father and mother lingered in his mind. And he felt that they were already standing in front of him, with pitiful and aging faces and pleading eyes. Ague was a little confused. What should I do? Do you follow your own decision and do it for the sake of these two poor old people? How about giving up your thoughts? Ague hesitated for a few minutes, and finally clenched his teeth and made up his mind. I can't ask so many questions. There are so many miserable people in the world, and I can't ask so many questions anyway. Ague, you just go with your original decision. But what should I use to beat Jiang Guangci to death? What Ague is in trouble now is this issue. But what should I use to beat Jiang Guangci to death? What Ague is in trouble now is this issue. At this time, Zhang Yingxing's face under the moonlight seemed to be smiling softly, and Ague suddenly noticed this. Then he secretly doubted, isn't he asleep? Could it be that he has figured out my thoughts? Then he secretly doubted, isn't he asleep? Could it be that he has figured out my thoughts and is laughing at me secretly? Ague then gently raised his head and looked at Zhang Yingxing's face carefully. After a while, I saw that he was still sleeping soundly. Only then did I feel relieved. A small pistol beside the pillow was still lying quietly, and Ague paid attention to it again. Suddenly there was a ripple in his mind, and a new thought occurred. Can I steal it into my hands? I can still return it to him after using it. If you borrow it openly from him, he will definitely refuse. How about I steal it? Whether Zhang Jinkui can be beaten to death depends entirely on this pistol. Uncle Yingxing, please forgive me. I have no other way to think of it. Thinking of this, Ague gently left the bed and walked to Zhang Yingxing's side. Somehow, his heart suddenly started beating like crazy. He immediately realized that he was committing a thief, and being a thief was a very unfair act. He bent down several times. I tried several times to reach for the pistol, but I never had the courage to take it. Suddenly Zhang Yingxing turned over and muttered something that seemed to be nothing, which almost frightened Aguiji. His heart beat harder and harder. It seems that he has committed a big crime and is now going to be punished. At first, he thought Zhang Yingxing had noticed it. Later, when he saw that Zhang Yingxing turned over and there was no movement, he realized that Zhang Yingxing was still dreaming, and he felt a little relieved. He tried stretching out his hand a few more times, already close to the pistol, but always retracted, not having the courage to take it in his hand. Hey, I don't even dare to steal a pistol. How can I beat Zhang Jinkui to death? What a useless thing. After scolding himself in this way, he tremblingly reached out and picked up the pistol. He did not dare to pick up and walk away from Zhang Yingxing immediately. After waiting silently for a minute or two, he decided that Zhang Yingxing was not aware of it at all. Then he walked gently to the door and opened it carefully with his hand, for fear of making any noise. In the past he did not know how to be a thief, but now he instinctively learned how to be a thief. Then he walked gently to the door and opened it carefully with his hand, for fear of making any noise. In the past he did not know how to be a thief, but now he instinctively learned how to be a thief. He moved his steps gently, slowly descending the stairs. After taking 2 steps, he would always stop and listen to the noise, not daring to walk out the back door all at once. Finally, he walked out of the back door safely. After taking 2 steps, he would always stop and listen to the noise, not daring to walk out the back door all at once. Finally, he walked out of the back door safely. A bright moon hung high in the sky, and the whole city was bathed in a sea of silver-white light. The residents are all in their dreams, and the surroundings are unusually quiet. At this time, the only thing accompanying Ague was his own long and slanted shadow, and a cold pistol. What should I do? It's only midnight at the latest. Where will I go? But I finally got the pistol. Under the moonlight. Ague examined the pistol carefully, then raised it a few times with his hand to practice the shooting stance. He couldn't help but smile at Mingyue with satisfaction. At this time, The cool and crystal clear moon also seemed to understand Ague's happiness and pride. Then he answered Ague with a perfect smile. Chapter 4. Their souls will forever be buried in a smelly dung heap. Ague was fascinated by the bright moonlight. His eyes just stared at the moon. It seems that there is something moving and strange there, some wonderful and unfathomable secret. The cool breeze in the middle of the night dissipates all the irritating heat. It blows on people's bodies one after another, just like the swing of a soft fly whisk, making them feel extremely refreshed. In an instant, Ague felt that he had left the noisy human world and entered the illusory fairyland. Although the pistol was still in Ague's right hand, he had forgotten everything and no longer thought about what he should do. Ague continued to look at the moon in a daze. Suddenly he heard something in the room behind him, first a cough, and then there was the sound of someone walking up the stairs. Ague continued to look at the moon in a daze. Suddenly he heard something in the room behind him, first a cough, and then there was the sound of someone walking up the stairs. This made Ague regain his original consciousness. The pistol in his hand, which he had almost forgotten, seemed to be beating violently in his hand, almost falling to the ground. Jiang Guangci is up. He must be after the pistol. I haven't run away yet, I'm still here crazy. You bastard. I thought of this. He picked up his legs and ran away, not daring to look back, as if Jiang Guangci was going to chase him immediately. When he ran out of the alley, Ague looked around like a mouse, timidly and cringingly, but there was no one walking on the street. Then he ran along the left side of the street. After running for a few minutes, Ague stopped and turned around to see that no one was chasing him. His beating heart calmed down a little, but he was already so tired that he was covered in sweat. He wiped the sweat from his face with his left sleeve. His right hand still held the pistol tightly. At this time, he felt that anything could be done to him, but he could not throw away this pistol, because it had become his life. His right hand still held the pistol tightly. At this time, he felt that anything could be done to him, but he could not throw away this pistol, because it had become his life. Without it, Ague would not be able to take revenge and would not be able to get rid of Jiang Guangci. He will not be able to avoid the ridicule of the little ant. In this way, he will no longer have the qualifications to be a human being. Ague now wants to be a good person, a brave, loyal and valuable person, but how to do it? Ague thought that if he wanted to be a human being, he would at least beat Jiang Guangci to death. Get rid of a big harm to the workers. Otherwise, Ague has no qualifications to be a human being, not even a little ant. If a person is not even as good as a little ant, then what is he still doing? It would be better to die. No, Ague has no thoughts of seeking death now. He wanted to live and be a human being, so he valued this pistol just as Jiang Guangci valued it. With it, Ague can achieve his goals and realize his fantasies. Ague lowered his head, thinking as he walked. He wanted to live and be a human being, so he valued this pistol just as Jiang Guangci valued it. With it, Ague can achieve his goals and realize his fantasies. Ague lowered his head, thinking as he walked. The bright moonlight at this time, the refreshing cool breeze and the night scene on the street were nothing in his mind. What filled his mind at this time was only the plan of how to proceed. He also thought that he shouldn't have stolen Jiang Guangci's pistol, He knew very well the relationship between this pistol and Jiang Guangci, and he knew that Jiang Guangci was a very important person and he should have weapons for self-defense, and he, Ague, was just an ordinary worker and should not do anything to Jiang Guangci. This kind of thing happens. But Ague thought about it and forgiven his sin. I stole his pistol now, not to do bad things. One of them wanted to avenge myself, and the other of them was to eliminate harm for the co-workers. It's not about doing bad things until they succeed. I'll just give the pistol back to Jiang Guangci. He must be able to forgive me. And if I beat Jiang Guangci to death, it would also be very beneficial to him. Ague was still walking with his head down, paying no attention to the scenery on the street he was walking on. I'll just give the pistol back to Jiang Guangci. He must be able to forgive me. And if I beat Jiang Guangci to death, it would also be very beneficial to him. Ague was still walking with his head down, paying no attention to the scenery on the street he was walking on. Hey! Want to take a car? Ague looked up and saw a shirtless rickshaw driver lazily dragging a rickshaw. He stood in front of him and asked him. In the hazy shadow of the night, Ague saw that this rickshaw driver was a man. His face had a grimace and was terribly dark and thin. At the same time, his expression was very pleading. Ague felt that he was extremely pitiful. In this cool night, it was the time when people were resting, but he was dragging his car back and forth on the street like a ghost. Well, how much injustice there must be in the world. When Ague was about to speak to the rickshaw driver suddenly noticed the pistol in Ague's hand, pulled the rickshaw and turned around and ran away, which startled Ague. Ague couldn't understand why, and couldn't help but mumbled a few words. What's going on? This is hell. At this time, an Indian patrolman in the corner was leaning against the wall and taking a nap. Suddenly he heard someone talking and the sound of a rickshaw driver dragging a rickshaw away. He woke up and walked to Ague's side. Ague only watched the rickshaw driver running ahead, but he didn't realize that a tall Indian policeman who looked like a night god was walking beside him. What are you doing here? I'm a skin twitch, I never sleep at night. Ague looked back and almost screamed in fright. But he immediately calmed down. He just thought that the Indian patrolman already knew who he was and was here to catch him. He wanted to run away for a moment, but then he remembered that he still had a pistol in his hand, so there was no need to be afraid. The Indian patrol officer has not finished speaking. Ague then raised his pistol and pointed it at his chest, making a threatening gesture. When the Indian patrolman saw Ague raising his pistol, he took a few steps back in fright, his big eyes shining white. Then he raised his hands apart to show that he was not prepared to resist. And he pleadingly said to Ague, "Good friend. Comrade Allah, I don't have any hatred, right? Good friend, a good friend who has good relationship with me. Comrade Allah, I don't have any hatred, right?" When Ague saw the situation of Indian patrols, he found it very ridiculous. And the terrifying mood a second ago completely disappeared. Looking at such a big guy, I'm a little scared of people, but I didn't know he was actually an idiot. Ague almost laughed out loud when he thought of this. Good friends. Good friends who have good relations with each other. Ague thought. It is never a good thing to be in a long-term confrontation with the Indian patrol. It is better to escape. He still raised his pistol and threatened the Indian patrol not to move. At the same time, he retreated to the corner step by step, turned around and ran away. At this time, he didn't know whether the Indian patrol was chasing after him, but he ran forward desperately, not daring to neglect a step. He seemed to smell the siren in the distance, as if the sound of the siren came from the Indian patrol place. So he was a little panicked and felt that the situation was a bit unfavorable. But because he had already run far away, the Indian patrol would never catch up, so he felt that he could rest assured again. He was sweating and panting, and finally he had to stop. He had gone somewhere, and Oguwe couldn't tell it in the night. This street seemed to be very secluded, and Oguwe didn't see a single person walking. He found a cement slab against the wall and sat down, feeling very tired. He just wanted to close his eyes. Although he tried hard to stop it, the result was ineffective. Oguwe fell into a half-asleep state. Suddenly he seemed to wake up from a dream, and his heart was so frightened that he could only beat excitedly. He felt that he had been too negligent. How can one sleep on the street with a pistol? What will you do if someone finds out? If the pistol is stolen or taken away, wouldn't everything be over? Thinking of this, Oguwe couldn't help but blame himself for doing something ridiculous. Almost missed the point. He touched the pistol all over again with his hand and felt that it was still in good condition, and couldn't help but feel satisfied. But the two eyelids just didn't listen to Oguwe's brain's command and tried desperately to close them. This was really annoying. He put the pistol under his clothes, but Oguwe was wearing a pair of shorts and pants, and there was really no place to hide the pistol without anyone seeing it. Wrap the pistol in a piece of paper, but where can you find the paper at night? Oguwe thought about it over and over again. Can't think of a proper solution. Wouldn't it be appropriate to take off your little jacket and put the pistol in the little jacket and wrap it up? This thought finally relieved Oguwe's difficulty. After he wrapped the pistol in a small coat, he put it between his abdomen and thighs and tied it with a hakama belt to prevent it from being stolen. In this way, Oguwe can safely close his eyelids. After taking off the little coat, Oguwe's upper body was completely exposed. Fortunately, it was on a hot night. I don't feel any cold. But because of this, Oguwe's naked body was inevitably exposed to mosquitoes. At first Oguwe used his hands to drive away mosquitoes, but due to the urging of the god of sleep, he slowly and faintly fell asleep. Oguwe walked to an unknown place. Surrounded by rolling hills, the hills are covered with beautiful, brightly colored flowers and trees. At the foot of the hill, there is a lake that looks like a mirror. There are many elegant boats floating on the lake, with happy men and women sitting on the boats. Deep in the woods, towering pavilions appeared, as if immortals isolated from the world lived there. Oguwe was wandering on the shore of Green Lake, not knowing where he came from or where he was going. The waves of fumigating wind made Oguwe feel refreshed, as if he had ascended to the sky. What on earth is this place? Oguwe thought as he looked around. I have never been to this place. I'm afraid this is a fairyland. I'm afraid this is what we call the kingdom of heaven. This place is so nice, it would be great to stay here for just one day. I never expected that there are such wonderful places in the world. I have heard about fairyland and heaven before, but I never believed it was real. Unexpectedly, now I am immersed in it. Ague couldn't help but smile and became happy. The strange scenery at present. The fresh and fragrant air, the chirping of birds flying from the woods, the gentle and pleasant singing on the boat, all of this made Ague forget himself and the world. Could it be that I have also become an immortal? Ague was thinking deeply. Suddenly he heard a very familiar voice calling him. Ague. Ague. Come over here. Then I heard a woman's voice. Come here quickly, we are waiting for you. Ague couldn't help but feel a little strange. This is fairyland, this is heaven. How could anyone recognize Ague? Ague became suspicious and a little timid, and slowly turned his face to the left, searching for the location of the person who called him. He did not dare to agree hastily. It was 100 steps away from where Ague stood. Sitting on a long armchair at the foot of the hillside was a man and a woman, waving to Ague. Aguishi didn't believe his eyes, thinking that he was seeing too much, but after looking at it in detail, he felt that he was right at first sight. This is strange. Why are they here? Aren't they both dead? Am I saying that I encountered a ghost? Ague thought as he slowly moved his feet towards the two people. When they were only a few steps away, Ague still did not dare to speak. Afraid of admitting the wrong person. Aha! Ague, are you here too? The young man stood up first and welcomed Ague like this. It's been a long time. Do you still remember me? Huh? At this time, Ague quickly walked a few steps towards the man and held his hands. He said happily, Brother Chuanfa, you are here. How are you doing? I really miss you. Ague. Do you still recognize me? The woman, still sitting, asked Ague with a smile. Ague quickly let go of Li Chuanfa's hand, walked towards the woman and said, Dash. Mr. Shen. Why don't I recognize you? I will never forget you, do you know? Well, Mr. Shen. You know how I remember you. When Ague said this, he felt a little fever on his face for some reason. He lowered his head and gently, as if timid, he continued to ask Shen Yufang. Did Mr. Shen come here with Brother Chuanfa? Have you been here for a long time? Shen Yufang nodded and said with a smile. Yes, I came here with Quan Fa. Did you know? Quan Fa and I are already married. Ague felt the fire on his face burning even more. Her heart was just beating and seemed to hurt a little. Only then did Ague realize that she was in love with Shen Yufang, and the love was very deep. Now she said that she had married Quan Fa. This really gave him a big blow. Although Ague admits that Mr. Shen and Li Chuanfa are very compatible and a good couple, Ague really loves her. Ague can't help but be a little jealous no matter what. He raised his head and glanced at Li Chuanfa. She seemed jealous of his happiness, but immediately felt that this was something that shouldn't be done. Ague. You should congratulate us. Li Chuanfa said proudly. Yes, I should congratulate you. When Ague said this, he cried a little and looked extremely pitiful. But then he thought about it and thought that his attitude was wrong. so he forced himself to be calm, smiled at them and said, "Dash. You two are so lucky. This is also earned with hard work." Li Chuanfa pulled Ague to sit down side by side with him and said, "Do you know where this place is?" Ague shook his head and said he didn't know. "Do you know where this place is?" Ague shook his head and said he didn't know. Li Chuanfa continued, "This is the paradise of revolutionaries. Whenever we are in this world, we fight for the poor, for the freedom of the majority, and to resist the oppression of the ruling class. And some of the revolutionaries who were sacrificed came here and lived here. Ague, do you understand? Do you think this is okay? The mountains are mountains, the water is water, the flowers are flowers, and the birds are birds. How beautiful it is! There is great equality and freedom here, and there is no oppression at all. You see." The singing men and women on the small boat were all very heroic revolutionaries during their lifetimes. Only very brave and very loyal revolutionaries can come here, and no one else can come here. Li Chuanfa looked around and paused for a minute or two. Then he continued to face Ague and said, "Ague, do you know? Only people like us are worthy of entering this beautiful kingdom of heaven. Our souls are pure. We only know the interests of the people and fight for justice, no matter what sacrifices, hardships, and dangers, and not afraid." Ague. "Don't you think so?" Ague nodded. At this time, Shen Yufang, who was sitting on Ague's left, suddenly smiled and said, "Full hair. You are really not shy, and you are here to show your credit. How many things have you done to benefit mankind?" Ague turned around. When I saw Shen Yufang talking to Li Chuanfa, her expression was unusually gentle and intimate, as if they were a very loving couple. This couldn't help but arouse Ague's jealousy and envy, but Ague immediately suppressed this emotion. He was afraid that they could sense his state of mind at this moment, so he quickly said to Shen Yufang, "Mr. Shen, what Brother Chuanfa said is true. Only people like you can enter the kingdom of heaven, especially Mr. Shen." Ague smiled and stopped talking. Shen Yufang didn't seem to hear Ague's words. At this time, she was looking at the ripples of the lake, probably thinking about something. Ague turned to look at Li Chuanfa again. With a smile on his face, Li Chuanfa looked at the pavilions on the opposite hill with great interest. All three fell silent. Ague took advantage of this opportunity of silence to look at the two of them carefully, and saw that they were still the same as before. Shen Yufang was wearing a female student's attire, a white top and a green skirt, looking extremely elegant. Her face is still very thin, but in her thinness, she shows a very strong look. Her smiling eyes are still as kind and lovely as before. Li Chuanfa was still dressed like a worker, now wearing a very white coat and trousers. His face is still as fair as before with a slight purple-black color. His two big eyes are bright and shining, showing that he is a very smart and capable young man. Are they two immortals? Suddenly there was a ripple in Ague's mind. He thought suspiciously, "Is this really the kingdom of heaven? Why did I come here? Could it be that I have become an immortal? Could it be that I have passed away? It's very strange. Ague, what are you thinking about?" Li Chuanfa suddenly patted Ague on the right shoulder and asked Ague like this. Ague was startled and couldn't help but forget his suspicion just now. Li Chuanfa suddenly patted Ague on the right shoulder and asked Ague like this. Ague was startled and couldn't help but forget his suspicion just now. He wanted to ask Li Chuanfa many things, but couldn't think of anything at the moment, so he could only look at Li Chuanfa with a questioning look in his eyes. Li Chuanfa smiled and continued. You see, this kingdom of heaven is really different from the world. Although we sacrificed our lives for the working people, our pure souls can enjoy the happiness of this kingdom of heaven. Ague didn't wait for Li Chuanfa to finish what he said. Then he interrupted and asked, what about those who do evil? They are domineering and oppressing the poor while they are alive. Do you think they will go to hell after death? Where is hell? Those who do evil will naturally go to hell. Their souls will never be liberated. Buried forever in a smelly dung heap. Do you know? Hell is a level beneath our feet, and we stand above them forever. Forget it, full hair. Shen Yufang interrupted in a very serious manner. What's the point of these words? Our responsibility is to completely change mankind and make the world the same as the kingdom of heaven. Ague, don't you think so? We are now enjoying happiness in the kingdom of heaven. This is not a very glorious thing, because the world on earth is still the same as hell. Ague. Just go back and work hard. Just work hard. This is not the place you should stay. Have you forgotten your responsibilities? Jiang Guangci is still there and continues to harm people. Your parents are suffering, and your co-workers are being oppressed. Have you forgotten that? Go. Go and avenge us. Go and avenge the oppressed people. Go and avenge yourself. Go quickly. Just as Shen Yufang was standing up, Ague suddenly heard a huge roar, followed by a strong wind, and was startled. In the blink of an eye, Shen Yufang. Li Chuanfa's shadow disappeared, the undulating hills, the calm lake, the beautiful flowers and trees, all flew to nowhere. Ague composed himself, rubbed his eyes with his hands, and took a closer look. He found that he was sitting on the edge of the steps. A car passed in front of him, not far away. It was already dawn, and there were already sparse pedestrians on the street. The store opposite was opening the door, and a woman with disheveled hair and disheveled clothes walked out. Ague slowly understood. It turns out that I just woke up from a dream. The scene in the dream still lingers in my mind, and it feels very happy to recall it. Ague is willing to remember it for a long time. Shen Yufang's smile, the fragrance of flowers and trees, the tranquility of the mountains and rivers, it's best to remember it here for a long time. Suddenly Ague's heart started to tremble, and he was extremely panicked, as if he had encountered something terrible and dangerous. He almost shouted, "Where's my pistol?" When he touched the little jacket with his hand, he felt relieved, as if he had found a savior. Some of the passers-by who passed by him glanced at him in surprise, while others regarded him as a beggar and casually glanced at him and walked away without incident. Finally, a shirtless child of 13 or 14 years old came forward. After looking at him with a smile, he said contemptuously, Ye-san. Are you not sleepy yet? The patrol is here, be careful not to eat your life. After looking at him with a smile, he said contemptuously, Dash. Yes-san. Are you not sleepy yet? The patrol is here, be careful not to eat your life. Ague wanted to stand up and give the kid a few slaps in the face to teach him that he shouldn't recognize the wrong person, but he didn't know why. He just looked at the child with hatred for a few times, then lowered his head and ignored him. Seeing this look, the child walked away quietly. It's already dawn, where should I go? Ague thought reluctantly. He just looked at the child with hatred for a few times, then lowered his head and ignored him. Seeing this look, the child walked away quietly. It's already dawn, where should I go? Ague thought reluctantly, I'm sitting here all the time. It won't be a problem after all, I should go find Jiang Guangci. Ague thought and stood up. He carefully rolled up the small coat in his hand again, for fear of showing any traces. It won't be a problem after all, I should go find Jiang Guangci. Ague thought and stood up. He carefully rolled up the small coat in his hand again, for fear of showing any traces. He began to move. But in which direction should we go? Even he himself doesn't know. After walking for dozens of steps, we arrived at the small vegetable market. At this time, the countrymen selling vegetables had already gone to the market. There were gradually noisy sounds in the small market. In front of Ague, a countryman was carrying a load of cucumbers towards the small vegetable market. When Ague saw the cucumbers in the bamboo basket, he couldn't help but feel hungry and thirsty, and wanted to grab one to eat. But Ague finally didn't dare to try. Wait until you touch your waist with your hands. He was even more disappointed. He didn't even have a copper coin around him. Cucumbers have great appeal. Ague's eyes only stared into the bamboo basket, and saliva almost dripped from his mouth. The cucumber seller felt someone was following him and looked back. Seeing Ague's appearance of a hungry ghost, he stopped and cursed at Ague. Yes-san. What are you doing with me? Humph. Beware of eating your life. Ague also stopped and rolled his eyes several times towards the cucumber seller, but finally said nothing. After the cucumber seller scolded him, he continued on his way. Ague watched him a few steps stupidly and angrily, wanting to catch up and kick over his burden, and give him a good beating. But after thinking about it, I gave up the idea. If only I could get a cucumber to eat. The more Ague thought about the cucumber, the more he felt hungry and thirsty, and saliva was dripping from his mouth. If only I could get a cucumber to eat. The more Ague thought about the cucumber, the more he felt hungry and thirsty, and saliva was dripping from his mouth. At this time, for Ague, a worthless cucumber was simply more precious than some ginseng and bird's nest. Alas! Finally, Ague took a long breath, turned around, and walked towards a street on the right. The sounds on the street gradually became louder, the sound of cars, carriages, pedestrians' voices, mixed into a roaring and complicated music. Among the countless pedestrians passing by on the street, Ague is one of them, but others have something to do, maybe work, maybe shopping, maybe, but Ague is like a wandering spirit, walking on the street early in the morning. What is the reason? Woolen cloth? Ague is one of them, but others have something to do, maybe work, maybe shopping, maybe, but Ague is like a wandering spirit, walking on the street early in the morning. What is the reason? Woolen cloth? Ague didn't think of this himself. He doesn't even care about other people's business. What disturbed him at this time was one problem: hunger and thirst. Ague really wanted to stop thinking about cucumbers, but the magic of cucumbers tempted him. Cucumbers. Cucumber. Cucumber. Ague lowered his head and kept thinking about cucumbers as he walked. Cucumbers could satisfy hunger and quench thirst. Ague didn't even notice where he had gone or which street he was walking on. Suddenly a burst of fragrance rushed to Ague's nostrils. Ague stopped and looked around. It turned out that he had walked to the door of a sesame seed shop. An old man and a child were baking the fragrant and crispy pancakes on the stove, which gave Ague a great stimulation. The tea house is upstairs from the Xiaobing shop. Ague could faintly hear the tea drinkers talking and the sound of teacups. After the children waited for the pancakes to be baked, they took a plate and sent it upstairs. Ague could faintly hear the tea drinkers talking and the sound of teacups. After the children waited for the pancakes to be baked, they took a plate and sent it upstairs. Ague knew that this was a snack for the tea drinkers upstairs. Here you can solve the problem of hunger and thirst. Ague might as well go upstairs. But Ague didn't even have a copper coin around him. All he had was a pistol, but the pistol couldn't be used as money here, and it couldn't be seen by others. So Ague could only look at the fragrant and crispy pancakes from a distance, and only smell their tangy aroma. Suddenly, someone slapped Ague on his right shoulder, which startled Ague. Then a very familiar one. At the same time, a very disgusting face appeared in front of Ague. This is a middle-aged man in his 30s who looks like a worker. He is wearing a set of Shandong silk jacket and trousers. There are a few gold teeth exposed in his large and irregular mouth. His eyes shone with a cunning and evil light, and it was clear at a glance that he was a villain with evil intentions. Ague was at a loss for an instant and only stared at the person in astonishment. His eyes shone with a cunning and evil light, and it was clear at a glance that he was a villain with evil intentions. Ague was at a loss for an instant and only stared at the person in astonishment. The man still put his right hand on Ague's left shoulder, deliberately pretending to be very intimate, and said with a smile, Ague. Are you here? I was looking for you. Ague didn't answer him, and then he said, I heard that you were fired from the factory. I was really worried about you. I have something very important to say to you, and unexpectedly I meet you here. Great. Let's go upstairs and have a cup of tea. Ague followed the man upstairs without saying a word, like a puppet. But he was suspicious in his heart. This man had never had a relationship with Ague. At the same time, Ague knew that he was a very dangerous bad guy, but now he suddenly couldn't figure it out. Ague followed the man upstairs without saying a word, like a puppet. But he was suspicious in his heart. This man had never had a relationship with Ague. At the same time, Ague knew that he was a very dangerous bad guy, but now he suddenly couldn't figure it out. He expressed his good feelings to Ague in a clever way. What on earth is going on? What kind of medicine is sold in the gourd? What did he want to say to Ague? What thoughts came to Ague? But although Ague's mind was filled with doubts, he was very happy at the same time. He went upstairs to have tea. This means that Ague can now solve problems that he cannot solve. After going upstairs, I found a seat facing the street and sat down. This man generously called the waiter in front of him and ordered what kind of tea to have and how many pancakes he wanted. If you have any other snacks, you can bring them. Ague felt disgusted when he saw that look on his face, but because he had to solve his stomach problem, he had to wait and see what he would do next. Ague knows his history very well. He once worked as a foreman in S cotton factory. Later, the foreman stopped working and became a government agent. Now he is a member of a government cotton mill union. In the shortest time, Ague could not recall his evil deeds one by one, because there are too many evil deeds. Although he has no direct relationship with Ague, he is one of the people Ague hates the most. If Ague hadn't been hungry and thirsty today, then Ague would have refused to sit at the same table with him. Ague continued to remain silent. The people at the table with him seemed to be at a loss for words. When the waiter brought the tea and snacks, this person whom Ague hated, smiled attentively to Ague and said, "Eat, Ague. Don't be polite. We are not outsiders." When Ague reached out to take the pancake, he suddenly felt a little humiliated and his face turned red. When Ague reached out to take the pancake, he suddenly felt a little humiliated and his face turned red. This was indeed an unexpected thing for Ague. He, a person whom Ague hated, a bad guy who was known to everyone, now actually extended favors to Ague. Invite Ague to eat, but Ague politely refuses. This is simply humiliating, humiliating, humiliating. Ague felt so humiliated for a moment. But because he was so hungry, Ague finally picked up a piece of pancake and put it in his mouth. Invite Ague to eat, but Ague politely refuses. This is simply humiliating, humiliating, humiliating. Ague felt so humiliated for a moment. But because he was so hungry, Ague finally picked up a piece of pancake and put it in his mouth. Ague. While eating tea, this person whom Ague hated continued to say to Ague, "I heard that you were fired from the factory, and I felt really uneasy. Unexpectedly, they also fired you. This is really something that shouldn't be done." While eating tea, this person whom Ague hated continued to say to Ague, "I heard that you were fired from the factory, and I felt really uneasy. Unexpectedly, they also fired you. This is really something that shouldn't be done. I met Jiang Guangci yesterday. He also scolded him, Ague, do you know? Shinkai, Mr. Shinkai." Ague didn't know how to address him. He hesitated for a moment before saying the word sir. "Thank you for your kindness." Ague. Don't say any kind words. None of us are outsiders. What do you mean by thank you? Really, I heard that you were fired, and I felt really angry. Yesterday I told Jiang Guangci that Ague is a very loyal child. Even if he does something wrong, he should be forgiven. Why was he expelled? What do you mean by thank you? Really, I heard that you were fired, and I felt really angry. Yesterday I told Jiang Guangci that Ague is a very loyal child. Even if he does something wrong, he should be forgiven. Why was he expelled? He said, "As long as I, Li Xingkai, guarantee it, then Zhang Jinkui can still take you, Wang Agui, back to the factory. I said, of course I can guarantee you. Agui, would you like to go into the factory again? Agui didn't say anything. Li Xingkai ignored the expression on Agui's face. Still continued to say proudly. Agui, maybe you don't know what kind of person I, Li Sheng, am. To tell you the truth, I have no better conscience. As long as I can help others, I will try my best to help. I think you are a very good person. Loyal person. So I insist Zhang Jinkui take you back to the factory. Li Xingkai stopped here and looked at Agui, as if waiting for Agui to express his gratitude. However, Agui lowered his head and ate tea, and responded to everything Li Xingkai said in a very cold manner. But I secretly thought, what does Li Xingkai have to do with whether I enter the factory again or not? What does he mean by helping me like this? He said he has a good conscience, and my darling, he has such a good conscience. He just thinks that I don't know who he is. Although Li Xingkai didn't get a grateful reply from Agui, he thought that Agui must be very grateful to him. What a disaster it was to be fired from the factory. Only then could Li Xing transfer Agui to the factory again. Go inside. What a great favor this is to Agui. Agui should not only be grateful to him, but also miss him forever. With this intention, Li Xingkai did not realize that Agui had any doubts and contempt for him. After eating a fried cake and swallowing a few sips of tea, he turned to the attitude of teaching a lesson and continued to say to Agui, "But Agui, you are very young, and young people always make mistakes when doing things. Although the reason why you were fired from the factory this time was due to Zhang Jinkui's confusion, there is also something wrong with you. For example, if you organize some kind of labor union with them and say something bad about the capitalists. Brother, don't blame me for saying that to you, this is really wrong. I know you like revolution very much. This spring you and Li Chuanfa were together almost every day. Propaganda to workers about increasing wages, reducing time, and opposing capitalists. I wanted to persuade you at that time, but I was afraid that you wouldn't believe it, so I kept silent. Well, later on, when the revolution was successful, Li Chuanfa had his head cut off, so why bother? Let me tell you honestly, whether there is revolution or not, this is all nonsense. Don't be fooled by them. Brother. We must not be pig-headed. 3. If the revolution takes off the head, then it doesn't count. If our life is not good, why should we give away our heads? What kind of revolution? To be honest with you, only Zhu Tu-san would do such a stupid thing. Look, Li Chuanfa lost his head because of the revolution, why bother? Well. Because of the revolution, I don't know how many Zhu Tu-san died. Mr. Xingkai. Agui suddenly raised his head and asked Li Xingkai, aren't you calling for revolution every day now? Haha. Li Xingkai laughed. His golden teeth shone in Agui's eyes, which only increased Agui's disgust. Agui. You are so honest. Don't you understand the revolution we are calling now? Haha. Our revolution is very safe. The more revolutions we make, the more benefits and money we will have. It is not like Li Quanfa's revolution, which removed all of Li Quanfa's heads. There are many types of revolutions. If you, Wang Ague, follow me in the revolution, then I guarantee that you will never be fired from the factory, and if you do well, you can also get a small official position and make some extra money. Brother, do you know? The most important thing in a person's life is to be happy. When you can make money, just make some more money to be happy, anything else is bullshit. Now is the time for us to get money. As long as we can get money, it doesn't matter what revolution it is. I still shout for revolution every day, but our revolution is official. Not only is there no danger, but you can get promoted and make a fortune. This kind of revolution, Ague, tell me, why not do it? After hearing these words and seeing Li Xingcai's proud expression, Ague felt unusually resentful and wanted to slap Li Xingcai a few times to teach him a lesson. But when I think about it again, I feel it's not worth it. Li Xingcai still didn't realize what Ague meant, so he continued. Ague, now is the time for us to be happy. A person should be smarter in this world and not be too rigid. Isn't Li Chuanfa a good person? Unfortunately, he took the wrong path and ended up in a terrible situation. Ague, it's good to ask you to listen to me. You are very young and don't know what the world is like. I advise you to throw away all revolutionary ideas. Don't go the wrong way. Although I, Li Xingcai, am not an outstanding person, you see, Ague, I am very comfortable now. Now that the hot weather is here, I am wearing a small silk gown. I am a member of the labor union, and there is no shortage of Longyang around me. Doesn't it look good to you? There are many ways, as long as people know how to find them. Ague, if you are willing, I will definitely help you. Doesn't it look good to you? There are many ways, as long as people know how to find them. Ague, if you are willing, I will definitely help you. So whether to enter the factory or not is still a small matter. I can make you rich, have good clothes, and not be angry with others. Ague, I'm telling the truth and I'm not kidding you. Ague, I'm telling the truth and I'm not kidding you. I think you are a very loyal person and I can't bear for you to take the wrong path. If I were an outsider, could I say these words to you? There are many connections, Li Xingcai said more and more proudly. He didn't notice Ague's attitude towards what he said. As long as people can find you, Ague, do you understand? You are very unlucky now, I know, but it doesn't matter. As long as you listen to me, you can get something good to do immediately. I guarantee you won't have to worry about lack of money. Your family is very poor. Not only should you earn more money to make yourself happy, but you should also earn more money to support your family. Look how pitiful your two old people are. You should be filial to your parents. But you should understand. Advocating strikes, organizing trade unions, demanding wage increases, opposing capitalists, and other stupid things will not only not benefit you, but will also put your life in danger. Li Chuanfa is an example, and there are countless others who were arrested and shot. To tell you the truth, this is simply not the way to go. There is a way, as long as you listen to me. I really think you are a very loyal child, so I really want to help you. Ague, do you want me to help you? You've been talking for a long time, Ague said, holding back his anger. He reluctantly said, "I simply don't understand what's going on. You said you wanted to help me. How on earth do you help me? How can I help you? You will understand if I tell you." Li Xingkai stretched his head in front of Ague, fearing that others might hear him. He said softly, "Our union is now looking for someone to be a spy, who specializes in spying on workers' meetings and other things. The salary is very high, almost 30 yuan a month. If you do it well, you can break it a few times. There is another reward for the case. This job couldn't be better. Ague, what are you willing to do? As long as I say a word, no one else will be allowed to do this job. I think you are a very reliable person, so I really hope you can help me. Ague, what did you say you were willing to do?" The opportunity is not to be missed. Ague felt that the anger in his heart was burning, and it was about to burst anyway. He had already retracted the right hand holding the teacup under the table, and was preparing to punch him hard. But it happened to be at this moment. The waiter came to make tea and asked if he wanted more snacks. Ague's determination was blocked by the waiter. Li Xingkai expected that Ague would not refuse. The salary is 30 yuan a month, and there is also a reward, and the work is not difficult, compared with working in a factory. I don't know how many times the difference is. Ague no longer has a job. Ague is a very poor boy. Suddenly such a good errand came. Ague should cry with gratitude. Ague should kowtow 3 times to Li Xingkai, this great benefactor. After saying these words, Li Xingkai was waiting for this. But Ague had a different mentality. Not only did he not feel grateful, but he also felt an indescribable insult. This was something that the smart Li Xingkai could not have expected. Ague. After saying these words, Li Xingkai was waiting for this. But Ague had a different mentality. Not only did he not feel grateful, but he also felt an indescribable insult. This was something that the smart Li Xingkai could not have expected. Ague. Li Xingkai pondered for a while and said, "Do you know Jiang Guangci?" "I know him. Why are you asking him?" "Do you know where he lives?" "I don't know." Ague immediately understood in Li Xingkai's eyes what he meant by asking Jiang Guangci. "I can't help but feel anxious for Jiang Ying. This kid is obsessed with Jiang Guangci again." Ague thought, and repeated softly, as if his voice was trembling, "I don't know where he lives." Li Xingkai looked at Ague interrogatingly. Then he stretched out his head and said softly to Ague, "Ague, you have to tell the truth. If you really know where he lives, you should tell me. If you tell me, I can give you 20 yuan as reward immediately." Good opportunities cannot be lost. I must try my best to promote you. Ague, you can't be too rigid. When you have money, you should take it without asking about anything else. Besides, Jiang Guangci is not your good friend, so why hide it for him? Ague. You have to know that you can get $20 right away. Suddenly there were 2 snaps, and Ague slapped Li Xingkai hard twice on the face. Li Xingkai was just talking and didn't notice this, and was instantly knocked unconscious and confused by Ague's blow. After Ague slapped Li Xingkai, he immediately picked up his little gown and walked downstairs very quickly, not caring how surprised the tea guests were at his action. Ague walked dozens of steps and suddenly stopped in the middle of the crowded crowd. He said to himself, very disappointed, "Why didn't I beat him to death? Alas! I forgot. Jiang Yingxing's pistol is in my hand. He wants to harm Jiang Yingxing. I'd better kill him with Jiang Yingxing's pistol. Alas! I'm so confused. He is even worse than Zhang Jinkui. Zhang Jinkui only harmed my body and did not hurt my conscience, but he wanted to buy my conscience with money. Not only does he do evil himself, but he also wants to seduce others to do evil with him. He really